Yes, yes, yes. What is up? What is up? MCR family. Another weekly edition of the show live on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Should be an interesting show today. A lot of news going out. Fights coming up this weekend. It's been a while since we had like actual legitimate fights. So it'll be fun to dive into that. Plus, I will, at the second half of the show, after Gary leaves, because he doesn't talk about MMA, I will break down the Conor McGregor Dustin Poirier rematch at UFC 257 as well. So it should be a jam-packed show. Everyone's doing well out there. The like button, share the show, all that fun stuff. And I'm joined, as usual, by the one and only Gary in Dallas. Gary, how are you, man?
Good to be back. It is good to be here. I'm good. We had some boxing yesterday. Did you watch the show box yesterday?
No, I didn't, actually. I spaced out on it.
Okay.
How was it? Was it good?
It was a show box card. Yeah. I mean, good enough, right? It'll fill the void.
Was it entertaining? Was it entertaining?
Exactly. It was. They were two fun scraps. I mean, that guy Mike Juan Williams is not it, but it was a fun fight. Not everyone's gonna be world champ. I'm just saying.
That is true. That is true. Not all showbox cards are created equal. Not all of them can be Jared Enos or, a rising prospect.
Devin Haney fought on showbox a bunch of times.
Absolutely.
Andre Ward used to fight on showbox all the time.
Remember those? We had like two showbox cards like back to back. I feel like that were heavyweight fights with like Jermaine Franklin as the main event. Those were bad.
Yeah,
those were not good.
Not elite level heavyweight boxing is bad in general.
So rough. Not even worth watching, to be quite honest. But Gary, before we get into like the news of the day, I didn't bring it up in terms of the topic. I do want to take the beginning of the show for you to apologize. For you to apologize to Rob, the Hearns, everyone involved in the UK land. When you said that Fury Joshua isn't going to happen, and it now seems like it's going to happen. And with the WBO basically admitting that they are making the Usyk-Joyce fight an interim fight to appease all parties. I believe that was Mike Coppinger that came out with that report, right? Was it Cop?
Yes.
Or was it Jake?
Yes. No, Jake Donovan tweeted it, but it was Coppinger's story.
It was Coppinger's story. Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure I get the right, accreditation. So it seems like on the last show when we debated for like an hour on whether the Fury Joshua was going to happen, whether Usyk was being ducked, it feels like you're being that you were wrong. Is that safe to admit, and that you should apologize?
I don't know who I'm apologizing to. Should I apologize to Regis Prograis for picking Terry Flanagan to beat him? I mean, I was, and the fight hasn't happened yet, so I'm not really wrong yet. When the fight is official, I'll say I'm wrong. When the bell rings to start the fight, then I'll really be wrong.
But you must admit that it does seem like the fight's going to happen now.
It does. I mean, there's still going to be major hurdles to clear as far as who gets the rights to the fight. I guess I don't know, but right now I'm kind of leaning towards it'll probably happen. Where last week I was pretty confident that it would not. So I don't agree with everything I said last week. Like I don't think Flanagan would still beat Regis Prograis. I don't have any problem admitting when I'm wrong. It does seem like the fight's gonna happen, but like I would say I'm 70% certain that's gonna happen now, as opposed to last week I would say I was 20% certain.
Mm-hmm.
That's a giant move, but like I'm still not like positive that this fight's gonna happen. Like there's still hurdles to be cleared.
Dude, I wish everyone that was listening to the show was in the group chat last night and this morning when Gary was going off on the WBOgus.
WBOgus. When I was a kid, like the year you were born, like that time, the WBO was trying to become legitimate. Like it was trying to become it's kind of like what the IBO is now, right? It's like, okay, that's not a real thing. But then De La Hoya and a couple other guys, Chris Eubank, get your belt, and then they start defending it, right? Mm-hmm. So it kind of becomes real. But when it was WBO, we just called it the W bogus. This is 25 years ago. This is in the 90s.
And you are, so adamant that contract needs to be obligated.
All contracts need to be obligated. Otherwise, there's no reason to have a contract. There's
exploitive contracts. There's predatory contracts.
Did you sign the contract?
Doesn't mean it's not predatory.
There was at least perceived benefit in it.
Not necessarily.
Unless you signed it under signed it under coercion. That could happen, right? Like if you don't sign this, like a mafia thing, I'm gonna throw a brick through your window. Okay, that contract's void. But if it was voluntarily signed, it's signed.
Anyways, moving on. I just want everyone to know the record stands. Like Gary was wrong. Okay.
It wasn't last week, but it was probably 2 weeks ago where you said it wasn't gonna happen either.
Yeah, but then a lot of shit changed.
Okay, exactly.
Yeah, but
I'm agreeing with you.
I also wasn't saying that like Josh was ducking Usyk, and it's like it's this big deal when you're also like totally okay with like mandatories like Kambosos never getting a shot. Never want to point out that contradiction in your logic.
Why did I say that? Like I said, Kurbet Pulev, and I hated that fight, deserved to get his fight. There's no contradiction there. I'm not the one with double standards here. If Kambosos gets his mandatory called, he deserves his fight. It's not a fight I'm particularly interested in. It's not one I'm going to beg to rush home to see. It'll probably be over by the time I get my popcorn, right? But that's what that would be the WBO. Is Kambosos the mandatory?
No, IBF isn't IBF.
Could be.
I think it's IBF.
I'm just WBO because it's top rank, right? Because maybe it's the IBF. I don't know. But whoever mandated it, the IBF is the only one that really makes you take your mandatory, and their mandatories are the worst. Like I don't understand that. Like I appreciate that they make you take your mandatory, but then they make Vegan Boots and Carlos Ocampo and Kambosos the mandatory. Like that's actually worse because I got to sit through a stupid fight. I'd rather you just didn't mandate anything. Honestly,
my thing is that to make a like an absolutist argument on contracts when it comes to sanctioning bodies, like to hyper focus on just this parameter of this industry, right? And how like they need to be obligated, I think is just so ahistorical and just like illogical because like we just went through, all these mandatories are not the same. So that to act like they all need to be treated the same is wrong. Like there's not a universality when it comes to the standards of mandatories, right? There is a general consensus amongst the boxing community when there is a good fight, when a good fight's being made, when a good matchup is being paired up. That I think is far more prevalent, far more important than whether one sanctioning body's mandatory is upheld or not. I want the consensus of the boxing community to be appeased by good matchups and good fights.
I just want legitimate rankings. Like we can debate, like you go to college football. Who's at the end of the regular season, right? Who's number one? Is it Clemson? Is it Bama? Right? Nobody has Central Florida as number one, right? Like we can, as reasonable people, maybe we disagree who the best guy is, but we don't think the 35th best guy is the best guy, right? Like if I said to you, who is the best heavyweight without a belt? Just off the top of your head, who would you say?
Wilder.
Okay, I would say Ruiz, but that's reasonable, right? Fine, right? I would put Ruiz 1, Wilder 2. You might put Wilder 1 and Ruiz 3, but you're not going to put Dominic Brazil at number 1 because no one reasonably thinks that, right? So I don't understand how. I just want some type of intellectual consistency in these rankings. Like I'm not saying you have to think that Ruiz is the best fighter without a world title.
Yeah, but Gary, that's fantasy land because
why is that fantasy land?
Why are the sanctioning bodies operating for profit? So they want to make money, and how they generate more profit, they basically make rankings a pay-to-play system, from what we've been basically told by promoters after promoters. And on top of it, the proliferation of belts, right? That seems to be the twofold method on how they make profit as a sanctioning body, right? Mm-hmm. As long as that is how they function, how they survive as a business model, let's call it, then that will not go away, unfortunately, because they're not intellectually honest about the sport they're supposed to govern. It's not about that. And, we talked about this before on other shows, and I think even the group chat, Rob brought it up, that, the fact that in their own rules, they state that they can change the rules at any time. Like, they give themselves loopholes, so they don't have to be intellectually honest. They don't have to be ethically honest or consistent. They don't have to.
But they already said they were gonna call mandatory for Usyk. The WBO is on record saying that. It's not like the WBC.
But they're also on record in their rule book, Gary, saying that they can change their determinations at any notice.
Then what was the point of making that? Fine.
We've been
and maybe in a court of law, that side wins. What I'm asking is, what was the purpose of making that claim? That you're going to call Usyk mandatory and that Joshua has to fight.
At the time, they wanted to do that. And then things changed. They want to make more money in this fight. It's that simple.
But then, like,
you want the rankings to be a ethical meritocracy of Gary. Okay. But that's never going to happen in a prize fighting sport in the system we have right now. It's never going to magically exist on its own. Like, you're wishing that promoters don't exploit fighters now. Like, you're wishing that sanctioning bodies rank fighters properly. Like, you're just wishing these things to happen. I wish that Santa Claus is real, so I don't have to buy presents for myself. That'd be great. Okay. It's that's just fantasy land, unfortunately. I wish it was true, and we have it now, since late 1990s, right? We have it on record that sanctioning bodies are a pay-for-play system, and that one of them had to get sort of circumvented by the FBI.
Which I still don't understand how Bob Arum got away scot-free.
Because he dimed out on them, man. He told them what's up. He ratted.
But you get nothing. You get absolutely not even a slap on the wrist. You don't even get someone shake their finger at you sternly. Nothing.
No, man. That's what I'm talking about. You can't wish that this sport is great and righteous.
How did you get this fighter from Colombia that no one's ever heard of to be ranked number 1? Oh, I gave him a lot of money. I paid for that. Oh, okay. All right, thanks, Bob. Nothing. Not even a slap on the wrist.
No.
Okay.
No, you got an HBO deal. Moving on from the AJ Fury topic, unless you have any other thoughts about the news updating, so to speak, on that topic.
No, it looks like I'm going to be wrong. I'm wrong a lot. It happens. It won't be the last time.
And it's okay, because Usyk's going to fight Royce, and that's a fun fight.
Here's what I want to say about that. It's fine.
And I will point this out. Someone commented on one of our shows, and they were right. And I should have probably corrected the timeline there. Joyce got his Olympic medal after the Usyk fight in the World Series of Boxing.
Yes.
And we kind of didn't specify that, and that I think that was a little bit we didn't give the right context to Joyce's career. Just want to point that out.
This is nonsense, right? Usyk was supposed to fight for the WBO heavyweight title when he moves up. That's in the WBO guidelines. Then he fought twice and was told he gets his fight next. And now he has to fight for some interim title and sing for his supper all over again. To
be fair, that first point you made is void if that WBO champion doesn't request to be mandatory. He didn't when he moved up to heavyweight, he didn't first request to be the mandatory to AJ at the time.
He did after the first fight.
After Chaz Witherspoon.
After Witherspoon, yeah.
Yeah, but he's no longer a WBO champion. I don't think he can do that. And at that point, he's a former champion.
Why do we got to get lawyers? I get it. I say get your lawyers too. If someone says something I don't like, okay. But can't reasonable people just settle anything anymore? Really?
I think this is the reasonable settlement, to be quite honest. Okay? Because Joyce is going to be a good money fight in the UK. Because Usyk is a decent pay-per-view draw in the UK. I don't know what the pay-per-view did for Joyce Dubois, but it was at least trending, it seemed like, in the UK and then on Twitter and the boxing world. It seemed like it was a high-level event in terms of how we perceived it. So I think it's a money fight, and it's a fight that he should win a stylistic perspective. And now he can fight the undisputed champion. He kind of takes, instead of having to fight AJ now and then fight the winner of Fury Wilder after to be undisputed then in your belief, now he can be undisputed quicker.
I don't agree with that because there's assuming this fight's competitive, there's going to be a rematch, and then Wilder, I still think Wilder has a legitimate claim to fight Fury. If Fury wins, it could be 3 fights out until Usyk gets a shot, and Usyk's not young.
That could have happened regardless of him fighting AJ first or not. right? Or first being after Chaz Witherspoon, right?
Sure, yeah.
Or I mean that because Derek Chisora was always on the timeline too. Usyk was never in.
Just fought Chisora first, right? Like he should have skipped. And I know Witherspoon was a replacement for a replacement. I get that. All right, it was supposed to be somebody else, and then somebody else fell out. They put a UFC guy in there that you had heard of that I never heard of, and then it was Witherspoon. Yeah, there was 2 replacements.
Oh, that's right. It was Tyrone Spong.
There you go.
I forgot about that. Oh my god! Wow.
I think there was some like.
Yeah, there was. There was another opponent before that too. I forget who it was.
But he should have just fought Chisora first. Like, you want to move up to the heavyweight division, fighting a guy I've never heard of, or Chaz Witherspoon, isn't going to show whether or not you can compete as a heavyweight. Fighting Chisora does, right? Like, Chisora's a 10 to 15 guy for sure, right? So if you can beat him, then you belong. Beating Chaz Witherspoon or Tyrone Sponge doesn't prove anything. What does that prove?
Thank you. Potato Bass or Boss in the chat. Carlos Takam was their opponent.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. That was actually a good opponent. That's right. Thank you. That was just a long. That feels like it was forever ago, and it was probably like January last year, like a year ago, and it feels like it was 5 years ago. But digressing, I think Usyk, regardless of what's going to happen, is the odd man out. You know what I mean? Like, regardless of how he does and how he was able to maneuver in the heavyweight division, he was always going to be the odd man.
That's what I'm saying. This era's Dillian White. He's not getting a title shot. He's going to sit there forever and beat everyone and not get a title shot.
Wait, you can't say this era's Dillian White when they're in the same fucking era. So good. That was great, Gary. That made my day. And I think that, look, as I've been on the record before with this, when you're the odd man out and you're the clear B side, even if you are like a little bit of a draw in your own right? Like Usyk's a little bit of a draw in his own right, but he's not a draw comparative to Wilder, Fury, and AJ, and even like Ruiz to an extent. You have to like just know your role. Unfortunately, that's like the unfortunate reality with prize fighting is that you're not the biggest prize. You gotta just hope you get in one day. And you gotta hope you get the shot. You gotta hope that it times out correctly where not everyone has a dance partner. There's an opening in the schedule, and boom, you can get in. That seems to be, unfortunately, the reality for the odd man out when it comes to a hot division. Think of like Crawford in a sense, too.
And that's what's, to me, again, I love Fury fighting Josh. You guys in chat saying I'm upset about the fight. No, I'm upset about the corruption. I'm upset about contracts not being honored and obligations not being honored. That's what I'm upset about.
But Gary, I understand that in your mind, Usyk was mandatory. It was called, whatever that means, and therefore he should have got the fight. But any sensible fan understands the better and bigger fight, not only for the division, but the entirety of the sport is being made. Like Fury Joshua is a transcendental fight, not just because of its stars fighting, but they are legitimately the top 2 heavyweights in the world right now. Like there's no other consensus about it. Like that is the case. Okay, Wilder lost, Ruiz lost. He hasn't had a rebound fight. Usyk hasn't looked as great in the heavyweight division as he did in cruiserweight. That's
lies.
That's not a lie. You've already agreed with me on the last show about that. I know, Gary. I know you're joking, but still, for the record, I want to get straight here. And I think that it would be like shunning. Oh wait, I'm about to contradict myself here. Holy shit! Never mind. I'm gonna just stop myself right there.
I don't even know where you. What?
I was gonna say fuck it. I'm gonna get like Liam Roscoe like commenting because he always gets fired up at this. It would be like wanting Spence versus someone else or Crawford versus someone else instead of just Spence or Crawford. And I have at times said on the record that I would rather have Crawford Porter than Crawford Spence right now. I know I contradict myself right now.
I get your point, right? And like for someone like me, a boxing hardcore who like like I'm like that girl that's in an abusive relationship who's just gonna stay with the guy that beats her. Like boxing is terrible to me. It never treats people right. It doesn't love me right, but I'm not going anywhere, right? So like, I'm like the domestically abused partner who just stays in the relationship, right? So I'm not going anywhere. But for the rest of the normal people out there who aren't boxing heads, yeah, this fight's gonna bring them in, and you're right about that, right? Like you are. Like Mayweather went up to 154 to fight De La Hoya, but De La Hoya got to keep all of his belts. Well, why? Mayweather wasn't a mandatory. He wasn't ranked in the top 15 of any of those divisions. Why does De La Hoya get to defend these belts, right? Against someone who's not ranked in the top 15? They never even fought in that weight class. All right. So, okay. Mayweather certainly didn't do anything to deserve a shot at 154. I'm sure De La Hoya had mandatories. Fine. Okay. For the good of the sport.
Yeah. Because, I mean, it's one of the biggest fights.
It's the biggest fight that can be made in boxing right now. It's the legitimate heavyweight. Like, whoever wins that fight, there's no more debate, right? Like, Joshua's got 3 belts, so he makes a claim, right, that he's the heavyweight champ. Fury's actually the guy who beat the guy who beat the guy. And to me, in the heavyweight division only, that matters, right? It matters in other divisions too, but other divisions, people vacate their belts. And I know Klitschko retired and Lewis retired as king. Whatever. Vitaly Klitschko. I get it. But Fury's that man. So he's got the lineage. And AJ's got 3 of the 4 straps. So they need to fight each other. And then there's no more debate. The winner is the king of the division. The winner is the baddest man on the planet.
Yeah. I mean, the other fights I was trying to think about that could really compete with it, I still don't think they have like the impact that Fury Joshua has, right? Like
it would have to be a Canelo fight, but he doesn't have that natural other rival.
Like I was thinking, Canelo Triple G3, while a big fight, doesn't have the impact or a transcendental moment that Fury Joshua is. And I was thinking like maybe Canelo Spence, that would be a big fight just from a pure like big star and big star right fighting. It's not like doesn't make sense, right? But just big stars fighting.
Yeah.
And even that again doesn't have the same impact that Fury Joshua has, the same sort of legacy that it has around just one fight for the obvious makeup of these guys need to fight each other for the dominance of the division, dominance of the sport. And like you said, traditionally speaking, the heavyweight champion has been the baddest man on the planet. That's what they've been called. I mean, we haven't had a truly undisputed champion since Lewis, right? So, I mean, 20-something years? Or would be like 19, I guess, or 18? Right, when was the last fight? 2002, 2003?
I would say 2004. I could be. Tyson was 2002. I want to say 2004 was the clip.
Damn. So we're only 16 years. Okay.
Oh, 17.
17. Yeah.
Only 17 years.
Only 17 years. Only 17 years, guys. I thought it was a lot longer. Team Batman Boxing. For me, Canelo versus Spence is a total mismatch. That too.
So is Fury versus Joshua, but I mean, those are still the
no,
two
it's not.
guys.
No, it's not. Not like Canelo Spence's.
I know. I don't. I love Spence. I don't want him to take that fight because he could be his last fight as a relevant fighter. Like, don't take that fight. It's not a knock on Spence, but you're fighting a guy who's the best guy in the world, who's 20 pounds bigger than you, 21 pounds bigger than you. Why would you fight? I get why you take the fight, right? But then he's taking the fight for the same reason why everyone else goes to work, for the money. Everyone else at work doesn't get beat up by the best fighter in the world at work, right? Like, you know what I'm saying?
But if you're gonna get beat up for your job, regardless of the money, you might as well get paid the most.
Okay, but yeah.
Logic.
Con tried that too. He got paid, right? How did it work out for him?
I think it worked out great for him.
He was never relevant again.
Dude, that dude got paid for that.
He got paid.
Dude, what do you mean he wasn't relevant? He got paid $5 million to fight Terrence Crawford like 18 months ago.
You're right. He did get a big fat paycheck for that fight, which is
fat paycheck. He got at least double what Brooke got, right?
So Bob Arum, you gave Khan $5 million and you offered Porter $1 million. I want you to think about that. Like, look yourself in the mirror, Bob Arum. Bob, terrible promoter, worst promoter in boxing. Bob. No, really, Bob, I want you to look at yourself. You gave Khan $5 million. You're giving Porter $1 million. Think about that. Just
oh my God.
Have a little think about it. Go kick the tires on that a little bit.
I mean, the thinking was obviously like, man, he fought Canelo one time, and that went viral, and that did like a decent pay-per-view buy rate, right? And it wasn't like it was amazing.
Yeah, probably 500,000. It's a Canelo fight.
I think it was like 480, 460.
Yeah.
And the thing was like, yeah, bring him in. That guy that got knocked out by the real star. And he's going to make Crawford a pay-per-view draw. Aaron's the worst fucking promoter.
If Khan would have won that fight, okay, right? But he didn't. Not even close. He got posterized.
People talking about the Yildirim Eubank Jr. press conference iconic moment with his coach. I should have brought that up for the show, Gary. Text Rob really fast, Gary. Text Rob and say, hey, Rob, do you have a link to Yildirim's coach, the rant from Yildirim's coach, something like that? I guarantee the motherfucker has either the clip or the link on standby. Okay. Because I do want to play it, because apparently Santiago doesn't remember it, so I definitely want to play it now. That shit's an iconic moment in the sport. Talking about impact and transcendental moments. That was one of them for sure. So let's talk about Canelo Alvarez fighting Vani Yildirim. Gary, it's official now. Canelo Yildirim is made February 27th on DAZN Matchroom, and Canelo has a 2-fight Matchroom deal with the implication that that he will fight Billy Joe Saunders as a second fight in May, and that will leave up a September fight or December fight, because I know Canelo likes to fight in December as well, for a Caleb Plant, Dave Benavidez, Triple G, Charlo, whoever it may be. Gary, your thoughts on it being official?
Let's see. Yildirim is the mandatory, right? Obviously.
Yes.
So it's the same thing I'll say about Pulev. If he wants to keep the belt, we have to go through these motions. So I'm glad he's doing it as a sparring session, like 2 months after his last fight. He's not taking it too seriously. And then he'll be right back. So it's like this fight didn't happen, right? I get to watch the Canelo fight, but it's really a sparring session. It's being treated like this. It's like, okay, I got this little sparring date with Yildirim on February 27th, and I have a fight with Billy Joe in May. I mean, is that how we should look at this?
Yeah, I mean, just like the Rocky Fielding fight, that was made in what, like a month and a half, 2 months notice, right?
Yeah. Do you think Yildirim is good enough to be Canelo's sparring partner? It's a real question.
It would depend who you're fighting, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
Is it a bad sparring session, or is it a quality sparring
No,
session?
I think Yildirim could be a sparring partner. Yeah. I mean, look, I've seen like world level, pound for pound level guys spar. I mean, barely top 40 guys, non-relevant veterans in the lead up to big fights, and it'd be successful. You know, like Keith Thurman was sparring. What's his name? Something Cherry. What's his name?
Edna Cherry?
Yeah, he was sparring Edna Cherry for the Danny Garcia fight.
Weird. Isn't Cherry a 135 pounder?
Yes. Okay. And there was a couple other guys, but like I think Edna Cherry was like probably the most established name that he was sparring. You know, Deontay Wilder. I mean, I know UK fans are gonna be, yeah, great sparring list. But I mean, he sparred like Michael Polite Coffee, and that one dude that gets knocked out by all the Russians. I forget his name. The white dude.
Just Prograis spars Kendo Castaneda.
And Kendo is not, you know, a top 10 guy.
No.
You know, he's a top 20-ish.
Yeah.
Give or take. Not to any disrespect to him. I think he's a good fighter, but like that's just the reality. He's not the most elite guy. He's not the most technical wizard for sparring, but he presents something. He presents a look, and that helps a lot. So yeah, I think Yildirim could be a sparring partner, and that's why it was made in 2 months' notice. And Canelo's gonna knock him out within what, 6 rounds? The body
never comes in unprepared, right? The only thing was like this: he come in the way that Fury came in against what was the German guy? Otto Wallin.
Well, I
can't see Canelo. Canelo never comes in unprepared. So yeah,
Canelo never comes in out of shape.
Right.
Canelo, even like when he's like really off camp and he's like on a yacht somewhere, like dancing, that dude is still like sporting like a 6-pack.
Yeah, you're right about that. So yeah, I mean, the only way I can see this not going more than 4 or 5 rounds. The only way I can see this going more than 4 or 5 rounds is if Canelo just doesn't care, right? But Canelo, that's not Canelo's MO. Canelo's always game ready.
It depends if Canelo is pressing Yildirim or if he's playing like the counter boxer.
Canelo doesn't play with his food. Canelo will get him out.
No, he doesn't usually. That's why I think he will march him down because that's where we saw Callum Smith, right?
If it was Billy Joe, we'd be going to the cards.
I don't know about that. I think he could stop Billy Joe.
You think Billy Joe? No. I'm saying if it was Billy Joe was fighting Yildirim.
Oh my God, no.
We'd be going to the cards.
We'd
watch 4 rounds and be like, well, I know how this movie ends. Right?
That'd be so bad, atrocious. Thoughts on the deal, the partnership with Matchroom, and in a sense, DAZN again. Gary, I find it kind of weird. And plus the Yildirim fight. I mean, Yildirim was a name. I got kind of bit on this. Shout out to Ranger Rollins over at Sunday Puncher. Great podcast. Everyone should go watch it. Or listen to it, I should say. He reposted the August 2020 article where DAZN declined Yildirim as an opponent for Canelo when Golden Boy requested it. Right? I'm not saying like there's a big conspiracy here, but I do find it quite interesting how the second Canelo left Golden Boy, everything's sort of copacetic with him, DAZN, Matchroom as this in-between party, it seems. Just thoughts on this change, so to speak. It's odd, right? Am I the only one that thinks it's odd?
No, it's ironic. First, like Canelo, I guess Canelo's. So it's like I have like 10 thoughts going on at once. Okay, so was Canelo's issue really only ever with Golden Boy?
Maybe. It seems like that. Because if it was really with DAZN, he wouldn't have got back with DAZN in any shape or form. He could be with Matchroom and not fight on DAZN.
No, right. But then like if it's only with Golden Boy, why is DAZN allowing this fight now when they declined it back just a couple months ago?
Well, that must be a DAZN and Golden Boy issue as well, right? That's my thinking. Is that
maybe so everyone hates Golden Boy?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we know this that DAZN bought either shares or bought interest, so to speak, within Matchroom US, right? Not Matchroom, the UK enterprise, but Matchroom US. We know they have a minority ownership, let's call it. I believe is how it was phrased, of Matchroom US. We know they had some sort of investment with Golden Boy, though it was never framed like a minority ownership like it was with Matchroom USA. We know that they've then restructured that Golden Boy deal due to COVID. There was some sort of beef or contract dispute, if you want to be more legalese here, between Canelo and Golden Boy. And from what we heard from like Lance Pugmire was that it was predominantly due to the money that DAZN was giving Golden Boy off of the Canelo deal, right? We also know that Golden Boy and DAZN had an issue with getting premier opponents with Canelo, right? That was the whole, they wanted him to fight Oscar and Khabib, right?
UFC guys.
And I think at the time it was kind of framed like it was an issue with Canelo, but that predominantly should have been an issue with Golden Boy because that's where the matchmaker is, that's where the promotion is, that's where the fights get made, so to speak. So it seems like if you sort of connect the dots, that Golden Boy has been a malfeasant, so to speak, partner in the DAZN Golden Boy Canelo deal. I mean, we also, I think, heard a little bit about how DAZN was upset with Oscar and Eric Gomez when they made the deal and that they offered them X, Y, and Z and they didn't get X, Y, and Z. Right? Remember we saw that report, I think, mid-2020, right? So maybe it is like Golden Boy was the stick in the mud, right? Like it was the odd man out and they're the ones upsetting all the money being made here potentially. And that's why Yildirim didn't get sort of made official because they didn't want to appease Golden Boy. And now we have Canelo signed with a 2-fight deal with a company that DAZN has minority ownership in. It's just very interesting to me. Again, I don't know if it's a grand conspiracy or if the dominoes just fell that way, but it does seem to be extremely advantageous to both Matchroom and DAZN as to what happened here with Canelo, and extremely disadvantageous to Golden Boy and Oscar, and we see them scrambling as a result. What this all means and what the outcome, I have no idea. Gary, I know I was rambling there for a second.
How much more legs do you think Golden Boy has? I mean, 5 years from now, do you think Golden Boy is still a major player in boxing? Do you think it doesn't exist anymore? I mean,
it depends about Ryan Garcia and if he stays on long term, to be quite honest, because Ryan Garcia is going to be around for at least 5 more years, right? Like, so
Canelo, right? Because don't they need him to be Canelo for them to even maintain? Because it feels like they were just treading water when Canelo was Canelo and they had Canelo. You know what I'm saying? Like, can he beat Canelo? That's a lot to ask. I'm not saying he can't. Maybe he can be. But, like, that's a lot to ask anybody.
True. But there's also, from what we've seen, I don't know about this. I mean, what's your general thought about I don't know if this is a side topic or truly connected, so maybe I'm off here, but what do you think about the sort of monopolization of promotions in a sense that we've seen over the last few decades? I mean, I don't know what the landscape was like in the 90s and 80s when it comes to minor promotions, but it seems like they've largely been gobbled up. They've largely not been able to survive in the modern landscape. I mean, Lou DiBella's talked about it quite a bit.
It was like that in the 90s too. I mean, it's just like banks. One looks good, so the other takes everything, or just takes or buys it outright, right? Like, I mean, in the 90s,
there is a general sense of when like regional enterprises become national enterprises, get bought up by national enterprises. Like, there's been a general sort of neoliberalization of that effect overall in the economy. But it seems like it's happening in boxing too, because right now, I mean, how many major promoters can you even say there are? When back in the day, again, I don't know what it was like, but it seemed like there's a lot more minor promoters that had one big fighter, and that's how a lot function. And you see a few of them function like that now, but that's a rarity. Like a Salida Promotions that has a Clarissa Shields, and that's all they promote basically, is a rarity.
You would have, because Roy Jones, what was his promoter's name?
Oh, don't ask me, man.
I mean, he basically was a top-ranked fighter, right? Because he fought top-ranked guys, but he had his own promoter. He fought on HBO, and he had his own small promotion company. You know, there were small promoters back then. You're right, and in that sense, like, I don't know who's to blame. Like, were they?
Yeah, it's not about blaming. Just like, is this what we're seeing happen? Are we seeing these smaller promotional entities be gobbled up, lose their status, lose their footing in the market to these bigger entities that are gobbling up the market space?
To a larger scale. I mean, you could operate back in the 90s with a small promoter, you know. I guess today you really can't. Like, Clarissa Shields is the best women's fighter ever. And she really can't get a big money fight, which is weird, right? Because Roy Jones Jr. is the GOAT. And, I mean, maybe he could have gotten paid more with Top Rank or Don King. I don't know. But he got every fight he basically wanted to, except for one, because he wouldn't go to Poland to fight Dariusz Michalczewski, which the haters, he didn't go to Poland to fight Michalczewski. Why would the best fighter in the world ever go to Poland to fight Dariusz Michalczewski in his hometown? Why? Or was it Germany? I don't remember. Germany or Poland? Where was he from?
Gary, it's okay. That was a long time ago, man. It's okay.
I was like in 8th grade. I remember hearing the haters then, like, he should go to Poland or Germany or whatever and fight Dariusz. Like, no. Michalczewski should come to Pensacola and fight Roy Jones Jr.
I mean, on the Clarissa Shields topic, I don't know if it's a good segue or not. You know, she's going to have a all-female pay-per-view in March against Maria Eva Decaire. And that should be a really good fight. I think it's a legitimate fight for the Undisputed Championship at 154. But it's obvious that if this was under a major sort of...
Matt, are you frozen up?
Gary,
I'm here. I'm going to refresh real quick. Hang on.
Guys, am I here? Let me know in the chat. Okay. I think we're back. Gary.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi, y'all.
I don't know what happened. I think it was a StreamYard issue because there was a connection issue and my internet's fine.
I'm fine too. Yeah, I don't know.
It's StreamYard.
StreamYard is the new Blog Talk.
Dude, don't say that, man.
That's not nice to say about anybody.
That's not.
I wouldn't say that about my worst enemy. I don't understand how they operate. I guess because there was no Chevy to that Ford, but how the hell they're not in business anymore?
That's why. There was no Chevy to the Ford. That's why. There was nothing that had that type of built-in functionality. You know, that's just the reality. Jay in the chat saying bad karma for talking shit about Ivani. Yeah, man, that's right. Erdogan came at us. God, I don't know what we're talking about. Oh, Clarissa Shields and her pay-per-view coming up March 5th for the undisputed title at junior middleweight. You know, we were talking about how the smaller promoters have been gobbled up by the bigger promoters, and that's been like an evolving paradigm shifting sort of reality of our industry. And we're talking about Golden Boy and Matchroom, Canelo and DAZN, and that may be an example of what we could be seeing, a sort of hostile takeover of a different promoter's market share, so to speak. And sort of segue into this. Would Shields Declare be a far bigger fight if it was PBC, Matchroom US, if it was Top Rank, if it was with one of those big entities? Would this be something that probably wouldn't be on pay-per-view? It wouldn't have to be. Two, if it was a pay-per-view, it would be far more successful than what they are doing, which is the true independent route. I believe this is going to be on Fight TV. Gary, your thoughts?
Yes, the answer is obviously yes. Matchroom for sure, right? Because Eddie, I'm not saying he does a good job promoting women's boxing, but he's the leader in the clubhouse. He's the best, of all the majors, he promotes women's boxing the best. He's headlined them. He's put good women's cards together. I
shit on Eddie Hearn and DAZN more than anyone, but I give Eddie full credit on how he's promoted women's boxing.
I feel like he looks at it as boxing, whereas everyone else looks at it. The other promoters, not everyone else, the other major promoters look at it as a sideshow thing, I'm
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I think you're right. I think that's largely due to just him being slightly younger, right? Like even Al Heyman, I believe, is in his like 60s or 70s. Like he's an older gentleman now. Yeah. And he's been in the sport for fucking 30 years. Like he's been around a long time. Bob Arum is like almost 100 years old. You know what I mean? Like, these are people from a bygone era of not only like boxing, but like the world as well. Like how like women are treated in economics and the workforce. And also like what we've seen the last 10 years in women's MMA, which I think is a great parallel with women's boxing and that growth. And Eddie Hearn has talked a lot about trying to copy the UFC in other ways, right? But clearly he's paid attention to that rising behemoth of a company and a sport in MMA and the UFC, respectively. And he sees that it's a viable market. That's the reality, right? That most boxing promoters and most network heads back in the day, they didn't see women's boxing as a viable market to get into. Well, since 2011-ish, that's changed drastically. Women can be pay-per-view headliners and stars, superstars, transcendental stars. So everything's changed. And I think he was just the first to sort of realize we're behind on this. We should have been the first here. We're not. Let's catch up. While everyone else is now playing catch-up to the catch-up. That's largely what it feels like to me.
Would Clarissa Shields be a legitimate pay-per-view star if she fought, well, I guess, the Zone, if she fought for Matchroom? But I guess she would fight at the Zone. They wouldn't have pay-per-view.
They wouldn't have pay-per-view.
Yeah.
I think she'll get far more media attention from a DAZN Matchroom connection, just from their media connections, right? They can press the buttons on a press run in a way that Salida Promotions just can't. But obviously with Top Rank and let's say PBC, right, to the pay-per-view equivalent, right? Could they make her in a pay-per-view draw? I'm not going to say a star, but a pay-per-view draw.
Yeah, star's the wrong word to use, but could she get 200,000 pay-per-views?
Yes, I think she could.
I kind of think so too, right? Like I kind of think so too.
If she was built up from the day she left the Olympics to now the right way, with the right people, with a big enough brand, she would be a star.
See, the reason why I think that, and this is kind of off topic, like I have a friend who's a casual boxing fan, right? Mm-hmm. And his profile picture on social media was him with Clarissa Shields. Like he'd met Clarissa Shields somewhere. A lot of people knew who it was, mm-hmm. right? Like surprising, like more people knew who Clarissa Shields was than say, Billy Joe Saunders or Caleb. You know what I'm saying? Like people knew that it was Clarissa Shields. So
she got some genuine Olympic rub. Like I know we kind of don't mention that with Shakur Stevenson because I don't think it happened as much with him. But with Clarissa Shields, she got a gold medal.
Yeah.
He did not. And she got 2 of them. So that helps drastically. So I do think that helped. Like I remember, I forget who I was talking to. Again, casual fan of the sport. A truly casual, right? Like they watch 1 or 2 fights a year. Like that type of person, right? And I mentioned Clarissa Shields. They didn't really recognize the name. I said the person that won 2 Olympic medals. She's an undefeated champion right now. And the wheels, clicked, and it's just like, oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. And then I mentioned that like she has a movie coming out with like Ryan Destiny playing her, and they was like, oh, another wheel clicked. I was like, yeah, I know who that actress is. You know what I mean? So Clarissa Shields definitely has the potential, more so than a lot of other fighters, to be a pay-per-view draw or a star. But she's with Salida Promotions. She's been hidden from media attention due to just not having connections. And that's the reality. And hopefully she gets out of that. Hopefully she gets out of Salida Promotions. Even though I think Demetrius Salida is a very fine guy, a very nice gentleman, he clearly cannot do justice for what she should be. And that's just the reality. Gary?
No, I completely agree with that. And maybe she's loyal to Salida Promotions. Like, there's got to be a reason why she's still with them, right? I mean, she's a far bigger star than what they're really able to accommodate, right?
Scott Brown saying Shields is in PFL, but she's also doing boxing, man.
She's doing both. Yeah, she's on quick boxing. She
literally has a fucking fight schedule. Yeah. Hopefully that helps, though. I mean, some crossover.
Yeah.
MMA fans. I did notice, I'll be honest, when she made that PFL deal, that for about a week or two, the MMA Twitter sphere, not the boxing Twitter sphere, the MMA Twitter sphere was talking about her a lot. And people that I saw never really talk about her. So that should help too. And plus she's young. She's just
she's still really young. So she's
24, 25 years old.
In 2012, she was 17 because she was the youngest age that was possible for the Olympics. So that was 8 years ago. She's 25. Yeah.
Yeah, she has plenty of time to also become a star too. Like that's the good thing. Like she has till 30 probably to capitalize on her potential, right? And that's 5 years from now. She has time.
She's got plenty of time, and like she should have a long career if she wants to, because she doesn't take punishment really. I mean, you know what I'm saying? She's not there in a Taro Gatti style fight. She, like Mayweather, she doesn't get hit a whole lot, so she should be able to sustain a long career if she wants to.
Absolutely. Moving on from that, unless you have any other thoughts about Clarissa Shields? No? Let's move on. Oh, I know we kind of moved off the Canelo Yildirim topic. Any other thoughts on that too? Or are you good?
I'm good. So let's get it over with. Let's get that sparring session over with.
What do you think is going to be the third fight of the year?
I think it's Caleb Plant. I think he's going to, either September or December. September would be tough because think about it. He fought in December, then turned back in February, then May, September. That would be 4 fights in 10 months. That's a lot. Who does that anymore? Nobody, right? So I think that fight will be in December.
I had a question from, I think his name, I always forget your name. I think it's October 4th is the person's name that comments the long comments on some of our shows. Good person that follows the show. And they asked why, like I'll mention, let's say like the snack program and like kind of harp on that and not harp on Canelo. And I want to answer that because I feel like that's a contradiction of my my talking point, so to speak, my rhetoric, and I need to clear that up. One, it's a contradiction because I am a Canelo stan, so I will defend him, deal with it. Two, Canelo is most likely on something, just like all top fighters are most likely on something. Like that goes without saying. I just judge Snack because the media never talks about Snack properly, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like they legitimately like totally forget about who Victor Conte is, what he did, the fact that he's like a convicted felon for giving steroids to athletes. Like
he kept his mouth shut, though. He kept his mouth shut.
No one talks about that. The fact that he bought like a Jaguar the day after he got out of prison and formed Snack like 2 days after he got out of prison. No one talks about this. Like that bugs me. And like I'll be honest, I think there's some sort of there is a hypocrisy in some sections of the fan base when it comes to certain fighters popping and other fighters not popping.
There always is. Like in baseball, Barry Bonds is hated. Manny Ramirez, who has 2 positive tests and was going to be suspended for life and then he quit, is beloved. We love Manny Ramirez. Right?
He was fun. Barry Bonds was an athlete.
If you're likable like Ramirez, people will love you. If you're a mean bastard like Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens, people will hate you.
Look at how like Billy Joe was treated for like literally, I think something that should not have been an issue. Right? Something that was not prohibited under WADA, but was prohibited under VADA. Right? You have a clear conflict there between 2 massive governing bodies and he's governed under both. So I always fall back to the WADA code and what happened. That fight with Andrade got called off and he got called a cheat up and down the line for something that he shouldn't be called a cheat for.
There's kind of a gray area whether or not he cheated, right? Like these people over here said you did. These people over here said you didn't. He came after Canelo when Canelo had his, and he was like, he's a pussy, he's a coward, no one should be allowed. And then, like a couple months later, he popped, right? So, see, I've never been a fan of piling on, especially if you're cheating, right? Just keep your mouth shut. What I would have said is, he'll get his day in court and hope the facts come out and hope justice is served. And just keep your mouth shut, right? Like, especially if you're cheating. There's no reason to pile on Canelo. Or anyone. Like it's just not gonna, especially when you're cheating. It's not gonna help you.
Plus, that Canelo case was such a slam dunk case that he wasn't really cheating. But that's beside the point. I don't want to relitigate that from years ago and like relive like PTSD, like Vietnam War moments. Honestly, like that was awful. Dealing with the discourse back then of Canelo haters that wanted to say that he was a steroid user for having tainted.
Off topic because you just said PTSD and Vietnam. R.A. the Rugged Man's verse in Uncommon Ballad. That's the greatest verse in the history of hip hop.
I would have to refresh myself with it.
All right, we'll listen to it off air.
We can listen together, Gary, if you want.
Okay,
I'll do that.
Second verse. What's his name? The other guy's verse is first, and then
I don't know off the top of my head. Speaking of Vietnam, I watched the Vietnam movie, I guess. The Chicago Trial 7. Finally watched that. It was all right.
It was all right.
Yeah, for like an Aaron Sorkin movie, because I don't like Aaron Sorkin at all. I think he's a fucking lib shit.
He's a
lib shit.
Of course he is, right? But like he's a good writer. Like he writes his characters well. It's like you don't like him. I get it.
Did you watch the movie by chance?
No, I haven't seen it. I saw The West Wing. And what was the other thing that Aaron Sorkin wrote? Like
what was the other big movie he had? Or not movie because West Wing was a show. But anyway, Sacha Baron Cohen was fantastic in the movie. I'll say that. Until he got on the stand, and then they just didn't use the actual court transcripts of Abby Hoffman's testimony, which is fantastic. They decided to Aaron Sorkin it up and just copy quotes from The West Wing, and it was awful. But the movie was fun. Anyways, off that tangent, I think everyone should watch it because it was an enjoyable movie. Even though the last 5 minutes was just atrocious. Digressing though. Back to boxing, I guess. Teofimo Lopez has changed his tune a little bit, calling out Devin Haney and saying that he wants him more than any other lightweight. And on top of it, we got Ryan Garcia again calling out Gervonta Davis, saying, I'll do whatever it takes to get that fight. Gary, are we getting these two matchups?
I think you're getting Garcia and Davis. I really do. I know Eddie Hearn, who has no interest in the fight, said it can't happen. I'm not interested in what Eddie Hearn had to say in the fight. He has no interest in it, right?
He's like, why? Who cares what Eddie said?
He watched the Haney fight from, which is why he's saying it, right? That's the only thing I can come up with. He came out, I think it was on Twitter, and said Garcia is obligated to fight contractually on DAZN, and David, and he also couldn't get Tank Davis to fight over on DAZN. Remember, he tried to give him everything to fight Tevin Farmer, and he couldn't do it. I think that fight's happening. I really do. I don't think that's good news for Brian Garcia, but De La Hoya needs a star. It seems personal to Garcia. Like Garcia seems like he wants to fight him. So I think it's going to happen.
And he's on, the chip on his shoulder has got so big since the Luke Campbell win. Yeah. That should be, right? He just beat a top 5-ish guy. Got back up from a massive knockdown. He should be a little bit cocky here. You're going to get knocked out by Gervonta Davis, though, and it's going to be awesome to watch. And Teofimo Lopez, Devin Haney, you think that happens? Because I'm with you on Garcia, Gervonta. I think that one happens.
Nah, the monetary demands are too big. It would have to. I don't know where would it happen.
The monetary return, the monetary demand is too big for the return that they would get.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they both want $5 million, $10 million pot for that fight. What is this, Mikey Garcia versus Jesse Vargas? That was at least. Didn't Mikey get 8 and Vargas got 3 or 4
for what, Pacquiao?
No, Mikey versus Jesse Vargas. Remember the pot on that fight was insane.
That was
Mikey got 8. Yeah, and then Jesse Vargas got 3 or 4 because he had to pay him, right?
That was the dumbest move that DAZN ever made.
No, I don't think, because they both. Devin Haney's not going to take B-side money, right?
Yeah, and
I get he's the bigger star. So one guy's got all the, but that fight's not going to happen because the monetary demands of what they're demanding, what they would want to make it's just it's not there in that fight, not yet at this time, at least.
I think it happens and it's pay-per-view.
How do you think that does on pay-per-view?
Not well.
200 or less than that?
Less than 200. I'm going to say 120, 130.
That's not good. That's not good.
But they're not ready for it yet. That's Teofimo Lopez is not ready for pay-per-view. Neither is Devin Haney. But I see it 100% being a pay-per-view due to the monetary demands. And is it going to happen next? I don't know. I think it's hard to say right now. The only reason why Kambosos isn't happening because they want a crowd in Australia, right? That's the only reason that fight's not happening. Otherwise, they would just have it in a studio in fucking LA or something like that. So they go from just that fight to straight to Devin Haney and try making that pay-per-view or try to make that big ESPN fight. I don't know. It seems like it would be atypical of Bob Aaron's promoting style to go straight to that type of fight for Teofimo Lopez, right? I feel like a Loma rematch happens before we get a Devin Haney fight or a Gervonta Davis fight or a Ryan Garcia fight. That Loma rematch has to happen first because that is Bob Aaron promoting 101. We're going to get all these guys in rematches. That's what we did with Timothy Bradley and Manny Pacquiao for a decade plus. Just rematches. That's all we're going to do.
The third one was so unnecessary, but yeah.
So bad. But even like their own like careers, like they all had tons of rematches and trilogies. That's what Arum does. And I get why he does it because it creates a sort of series and sort of story amongst several fights. I get why you do it as a promoter, but
and it doesn't take a whole lot of work.
It doesn't. But that's what's going to happen. You're going to get the Loma fight or rematch first. And honestly, that's not to disparage that rematch, because I think that rematch should happen probably before these fights, to be quite honest. It probably should happen. But I also don't think we're going to get Devin Haney right after that. I don't think we're going to get Ryan Garcia right after that. I think we're going to get, likely, if I had to guess, Lopez versus a tune-up of some sort, like Miguel Patron, something like that. Like somebody that is not really up to that quality anymore. Or I should say Raimundo Patron, actually. Sorry, my bad.
Raimundo.
My name is Raimundo.
Yes.
So my bad, not Miguel. That fight would make a lot of sense as a tune-up. Top rank in-house, right? He was up at fighting at 140. You can call him back down to 135, no issue. And then you get the Loma rematch summertime.
And then Haney fights who?
Well, Haney's with Matchroom, so who knows what he does.
Tanahara.
Fortuna. Tanahara is a odd man out. That's the reality. He's like what I've been saying about Usyk and other people. Like, you got to wait till you fit in the schedule here. Okay. And also with Tanahara, it's who he signs with. That's the fact. It's a big factor. Right? If he signs with Al Heyman, if he signs with Matchroom, he signs with Top Rank, signs with Golden Boy again, all different immediate ramifications of that.
You should go sign with PBC, sign with Al Heyman, and then go tune up Michael Rivera, and then go tune up Tank.
Dude, Michelle Rivera is going to beat the fuck out of Adrian Broner. I hope that fight happens.
I do too.
So hope that happens. Oh my god!
Like they wouldn't do that to Broner. Well, maybe the investment there is putting the eyes on Rivera. Maybe that's the investment there, right? Like Broner's so erratic. We don't know what we have in him. Right? It's like Kyrie Irving. I don't know if he's going to show up tomorrow. So let's just cash out on this. He'll get one more fight. He'll get paid. He'll get destroyed, and then we can just kind of write him off, kind of thing.
No way rematch happened. Just from Matthew D'Souza in the chat. I like this. I like debate. Here we go. No way rematch happens. Tifimo is the future cash cow for Top Rank. Why jeopardize that by rematching Loma? Well, one, it's still the biggest in-house fight to make. Two, I think if you're Bob Arum and Todd Buff and everyone, you're pretty confident in Lopez beating Loma in a rematch. Right? Like Lopez didn't beat him off of a Hail Mary shot. He outboxed Loma. So the confidence in Lopez is super high probably within the promotion. At least it should be. Two, even if Loma wins, then boom, we got a trilogy. And Bob Arum loves nothing more than trilogy fights. So, and even then, like let's say he loses to Loma in a rematch and then fights in a trilogy. That might actually do more for his stock.
Yeah,
to be honest, like
build it again and again, and then it's 1-1, and
it might. I don't know. Like rematches aren't always the biggest or aren't always bigger than the original fight, but sometimes they are.
Tyson Holyfield too. I want to I get what D'Souza why Matt D'Souza asking that question, right? Like I get it, right? Here's what I would say. Like, I think it's a good question. Why would they make a rematch? Like Tifimo can only go downhill, right? If he loses. Because he's not going to lose. Like I don't think the fight was that close. I had it like 9 rounds to 3, right? Like, I didn't see it that close. I thought Tifimo outboxed him, and then Tifimo lost like 1 or 2 rounds there in that stretch. Like I thought Tifimo was clearly the better fighter. So I don't think they're really afraid of Tifimo Lopez getting worse at 23 and Loma getting better in his 30s, right? Like I think they think Lopez is going to win. If let's play make-believe. Let's play fairy tale world, right? Let's get our unicorns and ride to the moon. If Loma won, you get a trilogy. Right? And trilogies are fun. Trilogies are like Game 7. Like, someone's got to win. So, I get your question. It's a fair question. I think that, worst case scenario is Teofimo Lopez knocks him out, and that's great for Teofimo Lopez. Best case scenario is he loses, then we get a trilogy, and then, hopefully Lopez can beat him again, and then we made a bunch of money, and Lopez is right back where he was, where he started at. You know what I'm saying? So I get your question. It's a good question, but I don't think
And at the same time, you give people like Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia a chance to build up their stock.
Yeah.
To help make your guy a bigger star when he fights them.
Because none of them are at this point ready for Teofimo Lopez, and those fights aren't what they could be, right? Like from a revenue standpoint, right? So I hate making things wait, right? Because then you don't get them like Wilder and Joshua and things like that. But this really does need to wait. Those guys are so young; it's not going anywhere. They'll be there for years to come.
And Lopez Loma too is arguably the better and bigger fight than all those matchups. Like, you can make the argument. It's not a hard argument to fucking make.
Oh, it's bigger than Haney. It's not bigger than Ryan Garcia. I don't know.
I think you can make the argument.
Yeah, maybe you could.
Loma has a long-running career now. We can look at his TV numbers for sure and say that he's a great draw.
He's a television draw, yeah.
You know, we can't look at Ryan Garcia's TV numbers that well because he's on DAZN predominantly. And when he was on ESPN, he wasn't doing amazing numbers on ESPN, largely because he wasn't what he was now, or is now, I should say. Anyways, any other thoughts on the lightweight division there, Gary?
Just we gotta wait and see now what Hector Hurd signs, and the division will pick up, and we'll go from there.
Like, gut feeling, where do you think he signs?
Matchroom.
It's either Matchroom, and then I am going full blast into my conspiracy theory about DAZN and Matchroom, like siphoning off talent and resources from Golden Boy, by the way, if that happens. But digress from that point, I think that's the most logical path for him if he was to leave Golden Boy. But if I had a guess, like gun to my head, I think he stays with Golden Boy.
That's the other option. He likes Golden Boy, right?
Yeah, because he probably likes him, and just the money issue. Well, I think Golden Boy is hurting for talent, so they're going to throw him some money. They're going to throw him an extra, $30,000 a fight or whatever the fuck he wants.
That'd be good at this point, right?
Yeah.
He likes Golden Boy. Golden Boy got him as an amateur, right? And they signed him. He's been with them since he was a kid, right? And they felt that they've been good to him. But it's like now, it's like Golden Boy's like, here, they call Rick Moranis, here what we can do. Here's what we can do. It's like, bingo, I got it. Let me see your bingo card. Hang on. Not just kidding, right? Like, I can't, come back to me next week, right? And like, he's been out of the ring for a year now, and I get things that happen. I get it. But like, he's ready to fight now, and there's one fight that he wants. Devin Haney, right? And what will get you closest to the Devin Haney fight? Now, it's still very makeable if he stays with Golden Boy, which is why I think he might still stay with Golden Boy, right? But the only other where that's the fight he wants is Matchroom, right? So I would say he stays on the DAZN side of the street for sure, and that's either Matchroom or Golden Boy, and Golden Boy is where he wants to be, but Golden Boy's doing this weird thing where they make him an offer, but then won't show it to him on paper.
Jay, I agree with you completely, by the way. Echo 100% what you're saying. Jay in the chat saying, rebounding to the first topic, I think he missed sort of what we're talking about. So is Canelo signed to Matchroom officially? What's Canelo's contract? Is he on a fight-by-fight basis right now? It's a 2-fight contract. That's all it is. Simple 2-fight contract. Not a fight-by-fight basis. It's a 2-fight contract. Second fight's, they say it's Billy Joe Saunders, basically. My only assumption would be is that that's assuming that Billy Joe Saunders isn't going to take a tune-up in between that time.
I have a question, a real question, and I want the answers from the chat too, mostly Matt's answer. I want everyone's answer. Does boxing media, did the Canelo haters come out in full force saying Canelo is a duck for fighting Yildirim?
Why?
Because Yildirim, because it's Yildirim. Just because the name that he's fighting.
You know what? Look, I'm not always that. I'll be honest. Ever since I started like other projects that aren't boxing, I have disengaged a lot from like the boxing like discourse, let's call it, right? For like obvious reasons, because it's a lot of junk that's not really like important to me, and most of it's not relevant to the projects I'm doing right now. However, I've been hearing that there has been some talk about Canelo ducking people like Charlo, Andrade, and Triple G.
And fighting Yildirim.
Yeah. And fighting Yildirim. I don't know if that's like the case that there's like numerous boxing channels that are talking about this and like and they have like thousands of like listeners and followers and like that. I don't know if that's the case. I hope that maybe our listeners who are probably far more engaged on like boxing YouTube to tell us like what the temperature is out there, because I don't have a temperature check on like what the perception is of Canelo with that. I've only heard things, and I hear them from Rob. So I never know if it's true or not. I mean, there's no way you can say that Canelo's actually ducking like those people.
No, it's just it's ridiculous, right? Like, and it's
he's not even in the same division anymore. Like, think about it. Like, it'd be like saying like, yeah, man, Crawford's ducking Josh Taylor. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude?
Boxing Twitter sphere is fun, right? Like it is. But even more fun than that is basketball Twitter sphere. I was I made some posts, right?
Is it fun?
About Kyrie Irving should be traded to the Knicks, right? And some Nets fan came after me. I said he should be traded for Julius Randle and Mitchell Robinson to the Knicks, right? Guy came after me, it's the dumbest thing ever, and the Knicks would never make that trade. So I just tweeted a picture of a phone and said, call up Nick to make the trade, right? And he starts threatening me. He starts saying things about my wife. He's going to come to my house and kill me. It's like, just call. Going raised. I was just joking around because Kyrie Irving disappeared, right? And it's like, the Knicks would take someone like that. That's a Knicks type move. Call him up. Get a couple bigs. You need bigs. You'll get Randall and Robinson.
Knicks wouldn't trade Randall. Randall's doing fucking amazing for them right now.
The Knicks would trade for the bigger name because that's a Knicks thing to do.
Yeah, okay, true. But here's the thing, like,
you call Knicks, like, you want Tracy McGrady today? Oh, yeah, he hasn't played in 10 years. Wow, he's a superstar.
Dude, if the Knicks still had like the cool vibe, it would work.
They're the Knicks.
But they're the Knicks now, right? Like, they're the butt of every joke. And the Nets are far more of like the cool like team in New York than the Knicks, without a doubt.
Yeah. Well, they have Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden. The Knicks have Julius Randle and Mitchell Robinson.
They got the new stadium. You know, they got all the new gear, all the new shit, all the new toys and whistles. Yeah, of course. Hold on. I see some Demetrius Andrade slander. I can always appreciate that. Jay in the chat saying, and in all caps too, Demetrius Andrade has been a champion for 7 years. Who has he fought?
I mean, it sounds reasonable, isn't that?
The Vance Monterosa fight has to be in like 2013, right?
I get, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
7 years. How are you a champ? Two divisions. Dude, that's so sad. Like, cause think about it, he doesn't even have like, at least like Crawford has like the hipster name, like a Victor Postal, right? Yeah. That like he can hang his hat on, that we respect. Like, Andrade only has Vance Martirosyan, and we don't respect Vance Martirosyan anymore. Like, not even close. He had some respect back in the day. Like, when they fought, he was a respectable guy, and then like he just got knocked out by Triple G and disappeared. Like, what happened to him? Remember that?
Yeah, that was supposed to be the Canelo fight, right? And then
yeah, that was supposed to be. I was supposed to be in Vegas for that. Yeah,
he didn't fight for a year and a half before that Martirosyan, and then he hadn't fought since, right? Like, he got paid. You take a Triple G fight on short notice, you're getting paid, I would think, right?
Yep, that is true. He did fight Walter White from Breaking Bad, Andrade. So I mean, that was a good fight, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was phenomenal. He's fought
Seletsky.
That's the second best name on his resume. In reality, it's probably the best fighter he's beaten. To be fair, Brian Rose.
Hold on, that can't be the second best name on his resume. That feels just wrong.
Did he beat any old guys on his way up?
I'm looking right now. Hold on. He didn't beat like Angulo or anyone like that.
Nah.
God damn, this poor bastard.
I'm trying.
You know what's sad though is that he still has a better resume than like Gabuto Ramirez.
No, Gabriel Ramirez has 2 wins over Jesse Hart. I'm not saying Jesse Hart's a world beater, but Jesse Hart's better than Brian Rose.
And Vance Martirosyan's far better than fucking Jesse Hart.
Okay,
Willie Nelson's probably your second best win.
Willie Nelson, yeah.
That's probably your second best win, huh?
I like Willie Nelson. I don't know what happened to him, really. I guess he got knocked out by no. Did he get knocked out? I think he did, right? Stopped?
Let me check. He's on a 2-fight winning streak.
Freddie Hernandez.
Well, to be fair, the 2-fight winning streak is over a span of 3 or going on 4 years now. He fought once in 2017 and then once in 2019, and that's it. That's sad, man. That's really sad. Willie Nelson was like one of those like great gatekeepers.
He fought Omar Bell. Omar Bell once got knocked out by Keith Thurman. That's all I know about him. No, there's nothing on this resume.
God, that's so sad. We mentioned Jack Coquet, right? He's an
No, we didn't, but
he's an all right fighter. He's like a top 25-ish guy, right?
And that fight was close too, wasn't it? Like that fight
Dude,
was real close.
Fight was super close.
Yeah.
Didn't Andrade get hurt like in the last round?
I'm trying to remember that fight. Like I remember going to the scorecard saying, I don't really know who won this fight. I don't remember the fight specifically. I just remember it going to the cards and being like, that's really close.
Goddamn, poor Andrade, man.
Was that a split or unanimous decision?
Split.
Yeah, I remember it being that kind of fight.
Yep. Yeah, he has like 4 or 5 like top 25, 30 guys. And he fought one guy that at the time you can argue is probably a top 15 fighter, right? Vance Rosen was probably a top 15 fighter in 2013 when he fought him. But Jesus fucking Christ, man. So sad. And then he goes on like his network to like be like one of the commentators for a Canelo Alvarez fight. And they
make fun of him to his face, yeah.
They kind of forget he even like exists. It's just so sad.
Which I didn't understand. I thought they brought him there to bring him into the ring and have him fight Canelo next. Like I really thought that's where we were going.
Or to least like that can be an option. Hint at it, promote it a little bit. That can be an option later down the line. It gives you, for if you're DAZN and Matchroom, options at the table here to fight. You know, it might be Billy Joe, it might be Andrade. He was at the fight. He was talking shit to Canelo. He tried to get in the ring. Like they didn't do any of that. You know?
Yeah. They just sat there and made fun of Andre. Saying, you see Canelo, you're never gonna fight him.
Man, that's so fucking sad, man. That is so sad. Moving on from that extremely sad note, speaking of a topic that we talked about on the last show, I think that was Sunday or Monday. Josh Warrington has vacated his title, and he's looking to Gary Russell or Shu Shan. Thoughts on this happening? I find it peculiar, so to speak.
It's weird. It's strange, but if he doesn't want the belt, he doesn't want the belt. He doesn't want to go through mandatories and things like that, and he wants to kind of pick out the best fights available. I'm all for it. Like if it's between fighting some weird mandatory or fighting Gary Russell Jr., what's a better fight? What's better for him? You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which fight would you rather see? Is it?
Gary Russell Jr. The Shu Shan fight's fun. Like it's a really fun fight. I'm not hating on it, but like I feel like those are the two best guys, almost established guys in the division. They should fight each other.
Do you think Ray Vargas gets the fight though?
With Gary Russell Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Gary Russell takes another,
2 years off.
2 years off, and then we don't get him and Warrington fight because this is boxing. Why would the two best guys in the weight class fight each other?
That never happens.
Oh.
Except if it's Fury Joshua, then you hate when that happens.
I don't hate the fight. I love the fight. I'm gonna be into the fight just as much as y'all are in the lead up. I'm into it.
You're faking it. I know fake when I see it. Moving on, Artur Beterbiev is back. God, it feels like he's been gone forever.
He got COVID, didn't he?
Well, I know fights were delayed due to COVID.
Yeah.
I don't know if he got COVID. He was supposed to fight Fanlong Mang like fucking twice or 3 times. Right, and that fight fell apart. And he's fighting Adam Deniz, who's like I don't know. He's all right, I guess. Top 40, 50-ish guy. Has he not fought since the Vajdik fight?
Correct. Yeah.
How long has that been?
That was about, I would say, October, November of 2019. So it's been 14, 15 months like that.
Yeah. Damn, that's sad. Artur Beterbiev is one of those like underrated fighters that probably when he retires, people will forget about. But he's fucking fun. And it just sucks that like his division isn't that loaded.
Well, I mean, assuming he wins and Joe Smith Jr. wins, we're gonna get that fight. You would think.
I shouldn't say loaded. I should say it's not
star-studded. Right,
star-studded. You know, it's a division with good fighters, but no one is a Roy Jones.
No, there's no
D-Hop. You know, there's no one like that in the mix.
But a fight with him and Joe Smith Jr. would be again. Like him and Vosdick was a hardcore dream, and didn't do anything in the ratings, right? I guess a Joe Smith Jr. fight would kind of be the same thing. It's like, yeah, I'm really into that fight. That's offensive firepower right there. But outside of boxing heads, no one's going to watch it. So
yeah, Jay, relax. I am chilling. Okay. Yeah, it's loaded with good fighters, I guess. You know, like. We have Gilberto Ramirez, I think I mentioned earlier, but he's really hunting for the Marcus Brown fight for a WBC interim fight. I love that matchup. I like that one that whenever we see Gilberto Ramirez again, that he seems to want a top fighter in this division.
Gilberto Ramirez just fought.
Yeah, but he hasn't fought anyone of note. Right? I mean, since he left 168, what has he done? And he had the whole public spat with Top Rank. What has he done?
And I feel like Top Rank kind of liked him too. Like they always ran these pieces. They always ran these pieces on him. Like they liked him.
They did like him. I don't know what happened there.
Do you want a Canelo fight and that didn't happen, or well? I mean,
I know he mentioned Canelo fight, but he wasn't like gunning for it that way. And even if he was gunning for it, like why would you drop your fighter just because he wanted the biggest fight he could have in his career?
I don't know.
How dare you want nice things, fighter? You're fired.
Right, that's who he fought. He fought in April of 2019 against Tommy Kapensi, the white guy who gets knocked out by everyone.
Yep.
And then he fought Alfonso Lopez back in December. And Alfonso Lopez is from Houston. That's my boy. And it was his card. Alfonso Lopez was the promoter / headliner of the fight. I guess they were, yeah.
They had no TV rights, huh?
It was on some pay-per-view. Yeah.
You know, like Fight TV or something like that?
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah,
it was like $10 or something like that.
That's right. That's why I didn't see it. Did you watch it?
Yeah.
You didn't buy it?
It was $10. It's my boy. Yeah, I gave him $10.
It's right. He's your boy. That's right. It's different. It's different. If he wasn't your boy, though.
Would I pay $10 for that? No.
Okay, good. Okay. Well, just want to make sure you're honest.
It was I think somewhere. It was in Galveston.
Yes, Galveston Island Convention Center.
It had a live crowd. And Galveston is kind of like a touristy spot. Like it's right. Well, it's Galveston Island, you said? So it's actually on the island. It's
yes, what it says Islands Convention Center.
It's right on the Gulf. Like it's like kind of a spring break spot. It's right. It's not far from Houston, so it gets the Houston crowd.
It's the Macau of Texas.
I don't know that. I guess you could say that.
Oh, that's great, man. Remember, like, when Bob Arum was like, we're going to have fights in Macau all the fucking time?
No,
and they didn't.
It's like they're doing this Canelo fight. No, it was, what fight was that Rob was telling me? They're doing it down in Corpus. Oh, the Chocolatito fight.
Yeah.
Corpus
that's not official yet, though.
No. And I can't see them doing it in Corpus. Like, Corpus is great, right? Like, it's kind of...
There was a fight in Corpus Christi not too long ago, wasn't it? A PBC fight?
No, it was down in the valley. It wasn't in Corpus.
No, there was a Corpus Christi fight not too long ago.
I would have went there because I like Corpus, but like Corpus isn't a big city; it's a beach town kind of, right? Like with wind farms. I don't know why you would do a fight there.
I am almost like guaranteeing, not 2020 for sure, but like 2019 or 2018, there was a nationally televised card
in Corpus Christi.
Corpus Christi, I guarantee.
The Brandon Figueroa fight was down in the Rio Grande.
Yes, you're right about that.
You're not talking about that fight.
I'm not talking about that.
Okay.
I want to say it was like an FS1 card.
Was it indoors or outdoors? You don't remember?
Fuck, man, I remember that. Okay. But anyways, digress from that point. Yeah, it is a weird place for that fight because that fight is a predominantly like it's a big fight. It feels like it should be presented as a big fight in a bigger market than Corpus Christi. I don't know why. They're just not doing like LA studio for like those fighters. I feel like it'd be so much easier for like Mexican fighters to do like the LA studio gig.
Yeah, if you want to do it with a crowd, why not put it like Corpus Christi is only about 2 hours from San Antonio, like south east.
Oh, then why don't you do San Antonio?
Why don't you put it in San Antonio? Yeah, I got Corpus Christi. Are you trying to get the people from San Antonio to drive 2 hours to go? I mean, I'm sure some will do it, but wouldn't it just make more sense to put it in San Antonio?
Now you You told me that they stopped. They put like a moratorium. So
And that's why I don't. Yeah, so it goes through at least the end of February.
Let me finish what I was going to say.
Yeah,
For the listeners, they don't know what I'm talking about. They stopped having live attendance in Texas. They stopped that for I think till the end of February. I want to say.
But it's not like then on March 1st you get events. They'll reassess it as we get close to the end of February. So I don't know if this fight is big enough money for them to lift that pin. You know what I'm saying? If it was Canelo fight, they say the hell with it. Yeah, we'll bring Canelo in.
Or to wait for that.
Yeah, right. That too. Yeah, no, if Eddie can't put this in Texas in March, I'll put it somewhere else. Yeah.
He has to, I feel like.
Yeah.
I know that they can't do Mexico due to there's no crowd there. But again, fucking do a studio, man. Like, I know you're going to lose money, I guess, but fucking deal with it. Like, what are you going to do? Make these guys sit for a longer period of time? It just makes no sense to me. You know, you have to obligate these contracts needs to be fulfilled in some fashion. If they're not being fulfilled, they're void.
Contracts need to be fulfilled. I agree, which takes us back to.
Did that just for you, Gary. Did that just for you. Moving on, Joseph Diaz and Shavashajan Rakimov is back on. It's rescheduled for when is it? February 13th. That's right. It got rescheduled. So that fight's back on. We also have Ronnie Rios versus Oscar Negrete and Jason Quigley versus Shane Mosley Jr. on that card. Surprisingly, not a bad little card.
It's not a bad little card, but Quigley versus Mosley, two guys who aren't any good.
Aren't any good? That's why I love it even more. Tell me that fight is not the most intriguing.
I feel like that's a co-main event of a club fight, right? Like,
well, to be fair, this is a club show. I feel like Joseph Diaz
title fight on the card.
Yeah, but okay, club in terms of like what kind of venue you're looking at.
Yeah, fine, sure.
Yeah, like this is a StubHub fight, right?
Oh yeah.
If all things were normal,
if it was normal, yes.
This should be at the StubHub, 100%. Or it would be in Palm Desert.
Out there. Yeah, like Indio or whatever. Yeah,
Indio.
Yeah.
What hotel was that? Stayed at it. Santiago, remind me. We stayed there and covered a Jason Quigley card against Glenn Tapia.
Oh, okay. That was I remember that fight.
Yeah, it was a fun fight.
Yeah.
Mauricio Herrera had a fight on that card, and he got super drunk in like tight leather pants with like giant ass cowboy boots.
Before or after the fight?
After the fight.
Okay, that's good.
Thank you for. But I mean, like immediately, like he fought, went back, changed, apparently, like with Bam Boom, came out and went straight to the fucking bar. Okay, it was hilarious, and then he had like that like Affliction era like button up shirt with like the dragon print and shit, but it's black on black. You can tell like he came out of like some mixture of like Jersey Shore, Texas. Style from like 2009. It was just fantastic to watch. Vandermar Rosen was there too.
Okay.
He wasn't fighting though.
He was just there to take in the greatness.
He was just there, I guess. Yeah. Well, Edmund Tavardian, who was his trainer and is a trainer for like Ronda Rousey and stuff like that, he was training one of the fighters on the card, I believe.
Okay.
And that's why, because Armenian, that whole squad, like that Armenian clique in Glendale.
Yeah.
They're ride or die, man. They go everywhere together. It's a scary group of people. Man, I've seen them get in brawls at club shows. It is not pretty, man. Those Armenians go to fucking town, man. They are insane. Great fighters. That's right. I did have Santiago interview Herrera, and then I interviewed Vandermar Rosen. That's right. Thank you, Santiago. Good memories. Moving on. Last topic of the last news topic of the day. Then we get to the fight card this weekend, break that down, and then I'll get into the UFC 257 card. Last news topic of the day, Gary. It's a big one here. You ready for this?
Yes, sir.
Dude, Jake Paul.
Okay, oh, we're not doing this, are we?
Is headlining Snoop Dogg's Fight Club on Triller pay-per-view April 17th. He's fighting a pro fighter now. I don't even know who the pro fighter is. Who's the pro fighter?
Did it say? I didn't get through. I just read the headline, which is good to see that Snoop Dogg is going through with this. That's good. Like Snoop Dogg, I think if he gets into it and he's serious about it, I think Snoop Dogg's really good for the sport.
I love Snoop Dogg.
Everyone does. He's likable. He's personable. Everyone likes Snoop Dogg. So if he takes it seriously, I think it could be good for the sport. Not this in particular, but
What the fuck? Are they not announced who he's fighting?
I don't think so. I think he's going to fight a pro fighter. Like we'll get to that. We'll cross that. But I didn't read the whole thing because I'm not that interested in Jake Paul or Logan Paul.
I just want to make fun of it. Damn. Dude, the Zone should definitely get Snoop Dogg as the commentator. Vast improvement over Todd Grisham.
You want Snoop Dogg to host?
I want Snoop Dogg to be the sole commentator.
All right.
Of the Zone.
If it's between him and Grisham, I'll go Snoop Dogg all day.
Absolutely. Right. That's not even a debate, right?
That's not even a debate. Yeah, absolutely. Grisham was awful and Snoop was good. Snoop was entertaining.
Let's get to the fights this weekend. Angelo Leo versus Stephen Fulton, the fight that should have happened in January? No, like April, I want to say, right, of last year or something like that. Obviously, Fulton got COVID. Fight ended up not happening. Angelo Leo fought. Why am I forgetting the name?
Tremaine Williams.
Tremaine Williams, yes. Anthony Fulton obviously didn't fight anyone. Now the fight's back on, and the undercard standout of that original card, Reese Alim, is back on this undercard as well. And Rolando Romero, the scourge of the Mayweather gym, is on the card as well.
Who is Reese Alim fighting again? He's fighting somebody good, right?
Vic Pasalis.
Oh, Vic Pasalis. That guy's really good. He fought on the FS1 card against another unbeaten prospect. Looked really good. He's really good. He was signed with he had promotional issues, like really bad promotional issues. He's got like really weird. That's a really good fight. I don't know who's going to win that fight. That's a good fight. But he, what is the promoter's name? I forget the promoter's name. It slipped my head. But he puts a lot of cards on it in Texas, and he signed with him because he's out of the ring so long, and then he's got him this deal, a co-deal to fight on PBC. But he is, look up his resume. He was a prospect back in the day, and he's not old, right? But Vic Pasillas is really good. He could win. I'm not saying he's going to, because Reese Lim is really good too.
Mm-hmm.
But who did Vic Pasillas fight in his last fight? It wasn't that long ago.
It wasn't a big name. His name is Ronfis Javier Encarnacion.
He was an undefeated prospect, right?
He was undefeated, yes.
Yeah. And he looked dominant in that fight, but he's got like weird layoffs, right? Like early in his career.
Yeah, I guess. Nothing too out of the. Oh no, it's a huge layoff right here. 2015 and 2018, he didn't fight.
The 2018 fight was in San Antonio, the Wright Theater, whatever.
Yes,
I was at that fight. That's where I first saw him. He's good.
And he had promotional issues before that.
Yeah, before that, yeah. So he was out of the ring 3 years. Yeah.
Interesting because, from what I can see, they found like some top rank undercards and stuff before that.
Yeah, I don't know what happened in those 3 years. He just had promotional issues.
Who's the feeder promotional company for Top Rank for like Texas fighters, Mexican fighters? Is it what's his name? God, guys, I'm sorry. What's his fucking name? I've met him. I've talked to him. He's a very nice guy. Samson. Is it Samson Lickowitz?
Yeah.
Is that the promotional company?
Yeah. No. That's not the one I'm thinking. I know that's this guy. Hang on.
I'm seeing a ton of top rank undercards that he was on early in his career.
He was a pretty talented prospect. I mean, he was 118 at that time or 122.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on. Let me pull this up real quick.
Yeah, because when you only have like the lead or co-promoter named, you don't get like those smaller promotional companies on the undercard to get mentioned. Like I see like Top Rank a lot. I see like a Taken Promotions, but that's who like No Nito Donaire is fighting, not who this guy is.
All right, it's not relevant. It's not relevant.
I was curious though.
He fought on Ricky Morona's card, but who promotes a ton of fights in San Antonio, and he's got Mexican fighters that are used a lot in B-sides, but that's not what I'm thinking of.
Well, anyways, digressing. Andrew Leo, Stephen Fulton. I mean, I was always picking Andrew Leo, but obviously he had the fantastic showing against Tremaine Williams, and I feel even more confident in my pick that he will eventually swarm and pressure Stephen Fulton and at least win enough rounds to win the decision. Gary, I believe you originally, when that fight was first made and we were heading into it, you were picking Stephen Fulton.
Greg Hanley, Prince Ranch Boxing. That's what I could not think of. He's okay. All right. Sorry.
It's okay.
That was going to kill me.
We got it now. It's okay. I believe originally you were picking Stephen Fulton to beat Angelo Leo. And then he beat Tremaine Williams. And I believe your opinion shifted towards my stance that Angelo Leo should win the fight. But correct me if I'm wrong. Your thoughts on who wins the main event?
I think this is a great fight. I think it's a great contrast in style. I think that Leo is a lot better pressuring, and he can keep it up better than I thought. It basically come out. Leo proved to me in the Tremaine Williams that he's better than I thought. Right, so I don't think Fulton likes to be pressured. I think it makes him uncomfortable. And I think the style is wrong. And I think Leo is good enough where he can sustain it for 12 rounds. So I think Leo wins a really fun fight in the contrast of styles, but wins a close decision.
Yeah, I think it's going to be close in the sense that it's probably going to be like an 8-4 decision. But all the rounds are fun, competitive rounds. Right?
Yeah.
I don't think Stephen Fulton's going to look like he's out of his depth here. I just don't think he has the right tools to really keep an Angelo Leo off of him. That's just the unfortunate reality here, is that Fulton doesn't have the power, I think the speed to really contend with Angelo Leo and his volume, his swarming ability. I mean, those types of fighters can really just swallow up a counter boxer rather fast if they're not prepared for it. And I don't think Stephen Fulton has ever fought anyone like Angelo Leo. Well, Angelo Leo just fought someone like Stephen Fulton and Tremaine Williams. It was a perfect sort of test for Fulton. And I would really like to see the Reese Aleem fight afterwards. I'll be honest. I know that might not be like the biggest fight to make, but Reese Aleem, again, as I said at the top of this topic, he was the standout fighter on that card to me more than Angelo Leo. Like Reese Aleem was amazing in his fight against who did he fight? On that undercard.
Reese Aleem he fought an undefeated guy. That was
hold on. He fought Adam Lopez. No. That was the fight before that. He fought Marcus Bates.
Like Aleem is another guy that kind of came up out of nowhere, but he's really, because he's not young anymore either. Like he had a career too where he was fighting like all over the country, just fighting in different club shows and things like that until he finally got his chance, which I guess was the Adam Lopez fight. Was that on Showtime? Is that Showbox card? Because Adam Lopez always loses on Showbox.
I think that was a Showbox card, yeah. Yep, Showbox.
Lopez loses to everyone. He's from San Antonio. So shout out to my guy. And then he fought Bates, yeah.
Like I think Reese Aleem packs more power than a Stephen Fulton.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like Reese Aleem, to me, would be more intriguing with an Angelo Leo than Fulton. Just because I think Reese Aleem could actually make Angelo Leo stop and not press him because of that power that Aleem actually has, the force he has. Kind of like, again, not a perfect comparison. It's not a one-to-one analog, of course, but like Shakur Stevenson. Like clearly a great counter boxer, but the guy actually has some pop. Like when he's marching down people, you can see the power. Reese Aleem kind of has that, where he can march someone down, evade shots, and just be really selective with his offense. I'm really excited to see how he performs. Any thoughts on the scourge of Mayweather's boxing gym?
No.
Dude, Gervonta Davis is ducking him, bro.
Obviously. I mean, that's goes without saying.
Who else is ducking him? I forget the list. Everyone?
Was he good? Like I remember his last fight. Was he good? No, he's not. Oh, he got a decision he probably didn't deserve, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not too high on him at all. I think he's a really awkward fighter too, in terms of like Lawrence Okolie awkward, not like Emmanuel Augustus awkward.
I remember him coming in with a lot of. It was a Showtime card, right? That he fought on, and everyone was like, "Oh, well, that guy's not that good." I vaguely remember the fight. He wasn't good enough where I remember it. You know what I'm saying?
It was the David Benavidez card.
Okay.
That was last year when he fought Romero and Angulo.
Yeah.
He fought Jackson Marinas, who was an undefeated fighter, and won via unanimous decision. And most people thought Marinas won the fight.
Okay. That's probably the fight I'm thinking of. Is that
Marinas, by the way, kind of just hit on his box rec. He's scheduled to fight Richard Comey next month.
Hey, Comey's back.
He's back, man, and he's fighting like a decent prospect that probably should have won a fight.
Yeah,
his first loss.
It's good to see Comey back.
Absolutely, man. I didn't want a Nicholas Walters situation at all with him.
I can't believe Nicholas Walters never fought again. Because he wasn't old.
And he didn't make a lot of money in that Loma fight. He took a pay cut, remember?
Oh, that's right. That's right.
He made less than $1 million in that fight.
I know that sounds crazy, but that was before boxing inflation too.
Hey, but that was still
yeah.
Loma was the number 3 guy at the time for Top Rank because they saw Pacquiao. And then Nicholas Walters just disappeared.
And that was a fight where people probably didn't pick Walters, but people thought it was going to be a really, really good fight.
I thought it was going to be a great fight. I mean, Nicholas Walters
decimated
Donaire. Decimated Donaire. And look how we view Donaire now. It's crazy. Nicholas Walters is on a beach somewhere, probably weighing 200 pounds, smoking the greatest Jamaican weed. I hope he's living a great life, man. No idea where that guy's at.
He's getting punched in the face, right?
Dude, I'll be honest. There is a little bit of me that's I want to be the guy to find Nicholas Walters and interview him.
I thought you said I want to live on. So
no, but that too.
When I was I guess I was 11 or 12. I was in 6th, 7th grade, and we went to St. Thomas Island, right?
Quickly, hold on. Jay Pride in the chat saying he was supposed to make a comeback this year, apparently.
Nicholas Walters.
But COVID happened. Wow. I got to look into that now. Back to your story, though.
And we're at St. Thomas, right? Mm-hmm. And there was a guy that lived on the beach. You can tell he lived there. He washed his clothes, and I was like, well, that doesn't seem all that bad, right? He lives on the beach. He just lives here, right? And I remember in school, it must have been 6th grade. We wanted to do what we wanted to be when we grew up. I wanted to be that guy, right? I wanted to live on the beach like that guy. He's homeless. I was like, doesn't seem that bad, right? It doesn't seem that bad, right? It could be a lot worse, right?
My grandpa was born and raised in Hawaii, from Portuguese immigrant family, and his parents took off when he was young, and so it was just him and his older brother, and they lived under a beach guard tower, a lifeguard tower.
Yeah,
they slept under that at night. They would teach, non-islanders, people that were, tourists, how to surf, and that would make them money off of that. And then my grandpa's brother, so my great uncle, right, got drafted into World War II. So he took off, went to fight the Japanese in the Pacific. And my grandpa, he was, I think, a teenager at this time, decided that he, teaching tourists to surf wasn't enough money. So he started to steal cars.
Okay.
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 And then I want to say, if the story I remember correctly, because I've heard different versions of the story from different people, either he got into drug trafficking, gun trafficking, or just minor crime.
Victimless crimes for the most part.
Yeah, that's what my grandma says. Okay, that was just minor crime. Everyone else that tells me the story, it was mostly about guns. Okay. This motherfucker, my grandpa was 17 at the time, right? Just fucking being a delinquent in Hawaii, a fucking homeless delinquent. He gets caught by this sheriff, that's the local sheriff, that hates him. And the local sheriff gives him 2 options. Go to prison or go to Korea. At that point, it was now the 50s, and the Korean War started. So my grandpa went to Korea, never left Hawaii in his life, went to North Korea in the middle of winter to fight the Chinese. My grandfather, well, actually, surprisingly not being a bigoted man, hated the snow, though, for the rest of his life.
I can see that. Yeah.
Forever. So to your point about living on the beach, it's not so bad.
Not so bad.
Just don't get caught by the local sheriff when you're running, guns/drugs. It's not that hard.
No one's getting hurt. Just let people be. People, I want to sell something, they want to buy it. There's no crime here. Be on your way.
Be on your way. Gary, anyways, final thoughts for you, man, because I'm going to be talking about UFC 257 now, and I assume you don't care to talk about Senior Conor McGregor.
No, and especially that guy. He disrespects boxing, doesn't he? Find me all forms of social media, 3D Boxing blog. It is January 21st, 2021, and Ivan Calderon is still not in the Boxing Hall of Fame. We need to change that. From Texas to the world, thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, Gary. Jay in the chat saying, "Dog, the bounty hunter came from my grandpa." Oh, my God. That was good. All right, let's talk about UFC 257, and I'm not going to belabor the point here or the analysis. For one, I highly recommend checking out Walkout Network, Anthony Walker, and all of his stuff with Jay Petrie and Benjamin Duffy. I think their weekly show, Unleashed, is, I think, the best MMA show you can watch, and you get the best topics, the best analysis you can. And also, I made it super easy for all those that want to watch that content on our YouTube channel. If you go to our YouTube channel now, you can see all of our other projects. So UK Raw Boxing has its own playlist at almost the very top. My two projects, General Strike Podcast, History of Socialism, they're there at the very homepage. And also Walkout Network with, obviously, Anthony Walker, Benjamin Duffy, and Jay Petrie. Again, go check out their show if you want greater in-depth analysis about this fight and MMA news as a whole. I cannot recommend them anymore. But let's talk about the main event here. Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor, the rematch. For one, I really like this fight because I think it made logical sense. Dustin Poirier is not going to be in title contention anytime soon, but he's a perennial top 5 guy, in 2 divisions. So his bona fides is enough here at this point after the loss to McGregor. He's shown enough to us. On top of it, McGregor coming off of a multi-year layoff, multiple legal cases of rape and sexual abuse. He clearly needs something that he feels like he can have a win, get some shine, get some good publicity, and not have everyone talk about him being a potential rapist. That's what this is. So the way I see this fight going down is not too dissimilar from how I first viewed it all those years ago, to be honest. Because even though Dustin Poirier has solidified his stance as a elite fighter, I think his game hasn't drastically improved. And when I look at his striking, for me personally, okay, I've always found his stance and style of striking to be effective against a certain level of competition and be an exciting style. It's not extremely high level. And not that McGregor is the greatest striker in the world, but McGregor is an elite striker. What he did to Eddie Alvarez versus what Dustin Poirier did to Eddie Alvarez are 2 very different things. Both had significant success against Eddie Alvarez, but there was a clear difference in how they did it, what it took for them to get that. If this fight goes to the ground, I think it's still Dustin's game predominantly. So that dynamic hasn't shifted drastically from the first fight because McGregor's counter wrestling and defensive grappling hasn't gotten drastically better either. He's been out of the cage for so long, so we can't even tell if it has gone better. So I come down to, again, how I viewed it almost all those years ago, where if Dustin Poirier can get McGregor to the ground, he should be able to win this. He is the vastly better fighter. If McGregor keeps it standing, he is the far more natural striker, far more heavy-handed, and just the better technician. That is the God honest truth. Even though I think we all like to hate on McGregor at this time in his career, he is still a talented striker. He's still one of the better strikers in the lightweight division as well. Again, that's just the truth, unfortunately. It'd be interesting to see. I'm picking McGregor to win this. I'll be interested to see how dominant he is. If he comes in there and this goes rounds and he has to really fight Dustin and it's a fight of the year contender, kind of like a Nate Diaz rematch, right? Then I think it would show that Conor hasn't improved his game in the years he's been gone, and he is still largely food to Khabib if Khabib wants to come back. But if Khabib is not in the equation, then I think the division is largely open for Conor to potentially reassert his sort of championship status. Because the guys that could have the style to beat McGregor are people like Dustin Poirier, Tony Ferguson, Kevin Lee, people that are really good wrestlers and that have good striking. McGregor, though, can probably still beat those guys because they're not Khabib Nurmagomedov. Why, Jay? I don't know if you're talking to me exactly, or if you're talking to Scott or somebody else in the chat. So let me know if you guys are directing questions towards me. William Phillips in the chat saying I'm really looking forward to Chandler versus Hooker. I'm really interested in that because Michael Chandler hasn't fought anyone, or I shouldn't say anyone. He hasn't fought UFC caliber competition in a very long time. Okay. And Dan Hooker isn't the best fighter in the world, but he's still fucking pretty good. He's still a top 10 guy in the division. So this is almost the perfect gatekeeping fight for Michael Chandler. I think he loses this fight because I've never been that high on Michael Chandler, to be quite honest. I always thought he would end up being sort of a top 10-ish guy in the division, not really a championship caliber opponent. And Dan Hooker, I think, will present enough intriguing style and sort of physical disadvantages for Michael Chandler because of his height, his reach, that it's going to be one of those fights where if Chandler can get on the inside, land his boxing, make this a little more ugly, make it a little more of a grappling contest, he might sneak some rounds by and win decision. That's possible here. But I think Dan Hooker is going to be able to keep him at range. If he doesn't, I don't think Dan Hooker's grappling is that bad. I don't think Michael Chandler has the sizable wrestling and grappling advantage. He does have one, but not a sizable one that makes such a giant difference, so to speak. Oliveira, someone mentioned Oliveira as the guy at 155. I do like Charles Oliveira, the Bronx. He's one of those guys that he could win a championship, but he's not going to stay a champion for a long time. And he has improved a lot. I'll give him that for sure. Scott Brown saying, I like Sarukhan. I think that's how I pronounce that name. I'm probably butchering that. That name does not ring a bell to me, unfortunately. I apologize. Jay saying, no, I was talking about you, really, but when you say Poirier's grappling is vastly better than Conor, I don't know about that. I'm sure it is. But he made it seem like a Michael Johnson type difference. No, because Poirier's grappling is really fucking good. His wrestling is all right. It's very average. So his ability to get Conor to the ground is probably pretty average in terms of the division, especially at the top. But once he gets Conor to the ground, he is vastly better than Conor when it comes to grappling. Like that's, I think, without question. I'm sure it's better, but not that much better is what Jay is saying. I don't know. I mean, who would you say? Would it just be Khabib that has just vastly better grappling than Conor and no one else has vastly better, just, marginally better or, reasonably better? Like, is it just Conor? I mean, is it just Khabib that has this vast improvement or vast difference of ability? I think, Charles the Bronx is vastly better at grappling than Conor McGregor. I think I think Conor McGregor is one of those guys where it's very hard to gauge because he's been gone for so long. And from what we can tell, he hasn't done anything in camp to change his style, to change his ability. Just reading the chat right now, guys. Yeah, mentioning names. And it's also like these other fighters have they might be far better than grappling than Conor, but their other spheres of talent or lack of spheres of talent, I should say, leave massive holes that Conor could exploit. For Dustin Poirier, for example, the way he leads into strikes with his head makes him super susceptible to counters. Okay. His overall striking style is one of fluidity. So if you break up that fluidity, his game falls apart. That's why I still pick Conor to win. Same with Gregor Gillespie, I think you mentioned, right? Yeah, you mentioned him. He's not someone that the rest of his game plan is able to really contend with Conor. That's why his grappling advantage won't become a factor. But no, I like this. Good discussion there. Jessica Eye versus Joanne Calderwood. I like that fight a lot. Always been a Joanne Calderwood fan. Always been a stan of her. Plus, Jessica Eye is annoying. So, Calderwood for the win. And plus, Scotland. Scotland's fucking great. I went there. It was a great time. Who else in the card that? Amanda Ribas. Amanda Ribas versus Marina Rodriguez. Oh, that's a really underrated fight right there. Fuck yeah. I love that. I'm picking Amanda Ribas because I think she has a lot of talent and a massive ceiling. But Marina Rodriguez isn't a scrub. This is a really solid fight. And probably should be higher up than Otman Azatar versus Matt Frivola. I'm assuming that's because of local connections. Amon Tasarakan is fighting Nasrat Hapsrat, a.k.a. Kelvin Gastelum, the Lesser. I'll watch that just because, Scott, you mentioned his name. I'll check out Tasarakan. I'm probably butchering that name pronunciation, but that's low-key pretty fucking cool if that's how it's pronounced. It sounds like that, what's his dude's name? From, is it Mortal Kombat? I should know this. Again, it's been a long show, guys. Brett Tavares versus Antonio Carlos Jr. That's a really surprising good fight, too. God. Brett Tavares is the more consistent fighter. Jay, man, I'm not gonna try to pronounce that shit. You don't say that, hey, this hard name to pronounce is actually pronounced this way. And you present it as a harder way to pronounce. Jesus Christ, Jay. Don't you know how to phonetically spell out something? Brad Tavares is the more consistent fighter, but Antonio Carlos Jr. is the more explosive fighter, more the dynamic fighter. He has surprised me more than Brad Tavares. I'm going to go with Antonio Carlos Jr. in that fight. I like that one. Sarah McMahon versus Juliana Pena. Wow. This is one of those fights that in 2014, 15, 16, I forget what year this would have been really relevant because that's how long ago it feels like. This fight could have been super relevant a long time ago. Damn. Crazy. I'm going to pick Sarah McMahon. So, Sawi Yu Khan. Sawi Yu Khan? Is that how it's pronounced, Kevin the Carrot? Thank you. Sawi Yu Khan. That's a little bit better, I guess. Sarkhan sounds like a fucking like Transformer though, and that would have been cool. Khalil Roundtree versus Marcin Pracino. Praceno. I don't know how it's Polish pronunciation. I don't know how it's properly pronounced. Khalil Roundtree is one of those guys that I thought would like actually become something, and just didn't. Just got knocked the fuck out by Johnny Walker and Kutaleba. God, I thought you turned the corner too. That Gokinsaki knockout was so cool, so badass, and then just fucking nothing since then. So sad. Who else? People that I knew: Andrew Sanchez versus Makhmud Maradov. I'm gonna pick Makhmud Maradov in that fight. Nick Lentz versus Masvar Evalev. I'm gonna pick Evalev because he's undefeated and he's Russian and he's fighting Nick Lentz. I mean, that's just obvious. Jay saying, get me in on this show. Jay, if you want to be a co-host with me on MMA shows, dude, position's open, man. Position's open. Okay, I've said for a long time now, if you guys want like shows, hell, if you don't want me to be a part of a show, let me produce some shows. I love producing podcasts. And give you guys some publicity to, 2,000 plus subscribers. Why not? Absolutely. But hey, Jay, I don't know what that means. And I want to say pause. I feel like that's a pause-worthy statement, guys, right? Like, this is pause-worthy, right? I want to gop in this bitch. I don't know what that means. I feel threatened. Who else? Ooh, Zagas Zuma, that guy with all the Z's. I like that guy. Oh, hop in this bitch. Oh, that makes far more sense and is far less threatening. Yeah, man, I didn't know what you wanted to do there, man. That was crazy. Guys, I'm gonna leave the floor open right now because I'm on right now. Are there any topics you guys want me to discuss, whether it be boxing, MMA, UFC, whatever? I'll leave the floor open for a little bit before I head out because you guys are awesome. Just want to always make sure you guys remember that. I always really appreciate all of you, even the fuckheads that annoy me. You know who you are, some of you. And I want to do another General Strike podcast show. I'm not going to do it today because we got Ashanti versus Keisha Cole in like an hour. So I gotta get ready for that shit. And so probably tomorrow I'll do one. I want to really talk about Jimmy Dore and Julian Assange in that Fox News clip. That bugged me big time. And then obviously I think someone asked if am I doing a live fight chat on Saturday. Fuck. I mean, the only issue is I really don't want to pay for these pay-per-views. So I was going to watch it in some other methods. And I always don't like doing a live fight chat when I don't have the legit stream up. Because if it goes down and I'm talking about the fight live, now I can't talk about the fight. I'm scrambling for it. It's dead air. It's a bad show, I feel like. I'm guaranteed doing a media reaction show. Guaranteed. Live fight chat. Hold on. I see some questions. Okay, Jay. I'm gonna start at the top here. Well, Annie, I haven't seen you in a long time. How you doing, Annie? Hope you're doing well, man. Wow. It's a long-time listener right there. If Khabib did come back, who do you want to see out of the four guys fighting Sunday? I mean, Connor, of course, right? I mean, we already seen him fight Dustin Poirier. That wasn't really that intriguing. Really dominant. And even though like the Connor fight probably would be dominant too, at least that's like an intriguing build up, and it has impact around the sport. I mean, Hooker and Michael Chandler. No, fuck no, man. Yeah, Conor McGregor. And I think I'm on record, but let me reiterate what I want Khabib to do if he does come back. Right, if he chooses to come back in his own volition, it's awesome. The only fight I really want to see from Khabib, actually, there's 2 fights. Whoever wins out in the Max Holloway Volkanovski series, that's going to happen because it's going to be more than 3 fights probably. Whoever wins out on that, I wouldn't mind Khabib coming out of retirement and fighting that guy. Or GSP. And that's really the fight I want for Khabib is George St. Pierre. Okay. That's the only fight that really makes sense for him next. And it's a way for him to keep progressing upwards. Otherwise, I mean, he's kind of just treading water a bit, right? Like he's already a mega millionaire, and I guarantee whatever endorsements and deals he's getting in Russia and Dagestan are fucking fantastic. So, I mean, he's making money. He doesn't need the UFC and need MMA. I don't really want to just see him hang around at lightweight. If he wants to get that giant legacy fight with GSP, I am fucking all for that. That is an amazing fight. I see a lot of like diehard MMA heads and like MMA media, people that I consider friends and like colleagues, and I talk to them a lot, right? They hate the matchup. And I don't get it. I don't get why that's not intriguing to you. That fight is to me, GSP versus Khabib is more intriguing than John Jones versus Israel Adesanya. I said that. Yeah, I fucking said that. Annie in the chat saying, what do you think of Chiesa's call out? I think the Colby Covington fight makes the most sense for him from a ranking standpoint. I don't think it's a fight he wins though. Chiesa's one of those guys, like he's plateaued. He's not going to become a better striker, a better wrestler. Once he gets on the ground and he's on top of you or he's scrambling, he is a really tough fighter to deal with. But Colby, I think, deals with that quite well. He's a better wrestler and drastically the better striker. Like drastically the better striker than Michael Chiesa. It's not even close. The 100th, this is Yuda, aka our listener from India. How you doing? Thank you for not pissing me off the show like you did the last show. The 135-pound division in Bellator, I think it's better than in the UFC, or is me crazy? You're crazy. You're crazy. It's not even close. Not even close. Non-MMA question 2. Have I watched WandaVision? Okay, I watched an episode and a half, and then something happened. I feel like something with my kid. I stopped watching the second episode, but I didn't finish the second episode. And since then, I have not gone back to watch it. I enjoyed it though. I thought it was interesting. I'm not gonna say it's like a 90 out of 100 or 99 out of 100 like it is on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that, but it was a good show. I enjoyed it. I like the almost satirical parody vibe of it, of like the 1950s, like Bewitched, I Love Lucy. Like I like that vibe. Thought it was interesting. I haven't seen the hook yet on like why I should care about what's happening here, though. That's why I'm a little bit worried, though. But then again, I did not see the end of the second episode, so please, no spoilers, please. Unless it's not spoiler worthy, and then you can just tell me what happened. So I see some people talking about Mackenzie Dern in the chat. I think she's improving. Give her some time. Not that she's going to be able to beat Riley Zhang or anything like that, but a top 10 fighter, I think she will be at some point in her career. Her striking's improved drastically. You can say that for sure. Jay saying he wants Khabib to fight Michael Chandler. Why? He's going to lose to Dan Hooker. It makes no sense. What else do we have here? Jay saying the slander here on GSP is just too much. Because one, George is an old ass man. First off, the dude's not even 40 yet. Two, George ain't a lightweight. True, but the fight wouldn't be a lightweight. It would mean literally nothing. That's not true. It would mean a lot. You have arguably either the number one or the number two best fighter of all time fighting one of the top 5 fighters of all time or top 10 fighters of all time at least in Khabib. You have the former best grappler in MMA history fighting the current best grappler in MMA history. I'm intrigued by that drastically. It's a massive fucking fight. That one does at least over 2 million pay-per-view buys. At least. So, I don't know what you're talking about there. Crazy, Jay. Fucking crazy talk. Let me see. Jason, I get an L for saying that, man. Jay, fuck you. God, you guys are writing a lot right now. Hold on. I'm trying to read everything. One guy's out of his prime, the other guy's coming out of his weight class. Khabib's a big guy. He come out of his weight class. That's no big deal. I don't see how that's an issue. Especially since, like, the whole, like, the culture of not having multi-division champions has largely been eroded away in MMA and the UFC. Right? So that's not a big issue for me anymore. That guy's fighting outside of his weight class. Who cares? It's not like he's fighting John Jones, who's drastically bigger than him. And fucking BJ Penn fought Lyoto Machida. Okay? Like, some of this is kind of built on fighters fighting outside their weight class and having, like, those moments. Like, the UFC and MMA is built on those kind of dynamics, let's call it. And plus, I mean, honestly speaking, just because GSP's out of his prime doesn't mean he's not good. He beat the middleweight champion when he came out of like a 4-year retirement. He came back right now, be another 4 or 5 year retirement, right? Like, he might be in his 40s, actually. I might have been wrong about that. He is still better than all the other fighters at lightweight. Right? Like, put GSP against all the top 10 at lightweight. The only one that's in question is probably Khabib. Everything else, I pick GSP to win almost handedly, too. Am I taking crazy pills here? Hey, Khabib versus Usman, I love that. Love that fight. I love that fight, too. That's another one. I'll take that. I'll take that over Khabib fighting Conor again. Or fighting Michael Chandler. Absolutely, I take him fighting Kamaru Usman. That would be an amazing fight. Even though, like, actually probably won't be that entertaining. Be just intriguing to see whose grappling is better. I want to see that. There's a question there. I think there's a slight debate there as well. Who has the better, more dominant grappling? Stop it. Stop it. Just because it was a lightweight size, he get mopped. What are you talking about, man? What are you talking about? That is crazy talk. Guys, like, you're all boxing fans here too. Like, we all saw Canelo go from 160 to 175 and knock out Sergey Kovalev. And why are we acting like Khabib going to 170 from 155? It's such a big fucking deal. Why are we acting like that's a big deal? Please tell me why. That's literally the same jump that Canelo did. And, I mean, I think it's a fair comparison because Canelo, Khabib are like GOAT conversation sort of fighters. Just because GSP is not his prime, he's still better. He's still better than most of the lightweights. I still pick GSP against Tony Ferguson, Michael Chandler, anyone. And even mention like welterweights. Like, I pick GSP against everyone but probably Kamaru Usman. Yeah, that's about it, probably. Kamaru Usman. I pick him against Colby. I pick him against Leon Edwards. Ponzinibbio? Absolutely. Khabib is, not Khabib. GSP is that good. He's the GOAT. Jay, I'm not crazy for that take. No. Come on. I mean, the only names you probably pick is probably the three I mentioned, right? Those are the questionable ones, the top three, right? Usman, Colby, and Leon Edwards. Those are the only ones that I think are slightly questionable. But everyone else I pick GSP to beat. Absolutely. If Khabib does not come back, that's probably a far better avenue to go down. This is from Annie. Thank you, Annie, for bringing us back on track. Who should fight for the belt? Gaethje versus Conor or Conor versus Oliveira? Well, Gaethje is the bigger fight. Oliveira is the better fight and makes more sense because Gaethje just lost recently. Though the UFC doesn't care about that, so it'll probably be Gaethje versus Conor, which I'll be okay with, But then again, like, we're in this weird spot with the lightweight division because it's still a great division. But with Khabib out, it loses so much of its luster, surprisingly. For me, at least, it does. It's obviously not similar because lightweight division's, exponentially better than the light heavyweight division. Think about the light heavyweight division, how, John Jones is gone. I don't think Izzy's going to hang around at 205. That division has lost a lot of its luster. Kevin the Carrot saying, I don't care about belts. I just want good fights. Gaethje Conor is late. No, it is a good fight. Absolutely. I think Conor versus Oliveira is a good fight too, though. Those are both good fights. That's not a question there. Like, we're not talking about like good fight versus bad fight here. They're both good fights. It's which one you prefer, probably, from a stylistic perspective. Which one you think deserves the fight most at this point in time? Dude, stop. You did not just say Chiesa and Neil Magny beat GSP. Jay, we just saw Chiesa and Magny fight. That shit was awful, man. GSP beats them. It's not even close. Edwards, I might give you. Same with Colby. But Burns? Fuck out of here, man. Fuck out of here. Kamaru Usman's going to make him look like he just doesn't belong here. And Masvidal? They're from the same era, pretty much. They're contemporaries. You saying that Masvidal would beat GSP? Stop. Wonder Boy? Man, Tyron Woodley beat him. GSP hasn't fought in 5 years. Yeah, and when he did that last time, he came back at middleweight and knocked out the fucking champion. Jay, that's what happened last time he came out of a multi-year layoff. He went up a division he never fought in before, and beat the current champion. Or at that time, the current champion. Come on, man. Come on. Ooh, Des Ferguson is one I wanted for years. That's a great fight. Great fight. I don't think it happens. I think Ferguson probably retires sooner or later. Or sooner rather than later, I should say. That's so good. What happened to the current champion right after you fought GSP? I think he retired. Because he had one eye. One eye Bismuth didn't bust him up. Stop it. That did not happen. That was a dominant showing from GSP. A dominant showing. That was one of those fights that like made us go, holy fuck, man. And I want to say at the time Woodley was champion, right? And I think we were all talking about, hey, GSP Woodley, that'd be a great fight. And most people were picking GSP to beat Woodley. Anyways. Yogi Bear's just mentioning Kevin Holland. I don't know why you mentioned Kevin Holland, but Kevin Holland's the fucking truth. Shout out to him. Oh, that's right. He did have the Gaslam fight after that. I forgot about that shit. That's right. And Gaslam's a good fighter. Yeah, GSP beats Gaslam too, by the way. Jay, I knew you were about to say that. Guys, I enjoyed this little extra 20 minutes of chatting here with you. I think that's going to be it for today's show. Remember, check out our YouTube page and its new layout if you want to see other content from our other channels, whether it be UK Raw Boxing, Trending Now Network and its affiliate shows, or Walkout Network with its show Unleashed. Highly recommend you all check out the other content we all put out because we put a lot of work into it, put a lot of effort, a lot of our passion into these projects. Hope you guys enjoy it. I will be back, like I said, let's say tomorrow for General Strike Podcast. And yes, I can do it tomorrow. Tomorrow morning. Not in the afternoon. Tomorrow morning. And Saturday, at least live reaction show. Okay? Immediate reaction show. Not a live fight chat, most likely. Guys, hope you are all having a great day, great evening, great night. You guys know how to support the show. Trending Now Network on Patreon or Cash App. Or, of course, just hit the like button, share the show, and subscribe. Find me, Matt Hunter MCR, all social media platforms. And remember, at all times, fuck the police and free Palestine. Oh, also, fuck Joe Biden, too. That's where at it. Have a great day, great evening. Peace.